Hassan, welcome to the podcast, my friend. How are you doing on this fine Monday morning?
I am very good to be sat in front of two beautiful people, to coin a phrase. Boys, it's great to be here. Thank you very much for inviting me.
Thanks for coming.
This is a little touch of class. I'm used to sort of roughing it on the bank, and this is very plush here, boys. And I found out that you boys have actually done it, haven't you? Haven't you put it all together?
Yeah, we actually did this ourselves, didn't we? I can see Dan looking at me and saying, look, most of it was Dan. Although this chair I am sat in, the two chairs, I absolutely beat him in a race, in a IKEA
race.
Yeah. But he was giving it the large, saying I haven't done anything. Come in, built a chair.
I mean,
I
was worn out from everything else in here that you see that got built by me.
I did some of this
paint on the walls.
Yeah,
the whole works.
I didn't paint it,
so no, we did. Yeah,
but everything else, yeah. We've covered if you'd listened to our previous podcast.
I mean, I'm an avid listener.
Rude.
I'd like to catch up. You know what I mean?
We'd already been through this. So you would have known all this if you'd listened.
I just wanted to once again reiterate the quality work that's gone into the studio. I'm very impressed, boys. Yeah, and there's been some legends on this couch. I'm not worthy, really, boys.
Yeah, you're quite early in the stages of legends that have been on there. But
any stage of legend.
Hopefully going forward, we're going to have a lot of legends sit on that couch.
I'm sure you will, indeed.
Yeah, fingers crossed.
It's very fro.
Yeah, that's it. So for the people who don't know you, Hassan.
That's everyone.
Us too, don't worry.
Go on, yeah.
Please introduce yourself to our listeners.
Well, I am Hassan Khan. I don't know what you'd say. A bloke who loves fishing, who talks a lot, and in a short period of time, I'd say has done a bit in the industry, but nothing like the likes of the legends that we've sort of talked about before. But yeah, all round passion for angling. Somebody talks a lot and is on camera. That's about it, really.
Yeah, so you say on camera, people will most probably recognise you from, you are pretty much, I'd like to say, the face of Angling Direct.
Ooh. One of the faces. Face. Yeah, maybe
you're kind of the public front of Angling Direct. So you work for Angling Direct.
Yep.
And you are, your role there being...
Well, that's changed a lot.
I don't want to say the wrong thing.
Yeah, it's changed a lot. I think I'm officially classed as social media manager.
Good role, that.
And corporate social responsibility manager.
Two
titles. Two titles.
Yeah.
Two titles.
That's a long one on the bottom of the email.
That one.
Have that one. Yeah, take that. Corporate social responsibility. Big. But it's changed an awful lot since starting, because I started, like Alf, you are social media manager, are you not, Alf?
Yes.
So I started as social media manager, and then as things progressed and AD became bigger and bigger and bigger, there was more need for more different aspects within the role that I did. And because I sort of faced it, there was various natural progressions, but that was one of them. And I think ever since then, you know what it's like. Your job's never the same. It always changes, especially in the angling world. The sort of harder you work, the more you put in, the more opportunities there are, and you try and sort of do what you can. But I think marrying that with Angling Direct, which is very corporate, there's sort of two heads that you have to have on you there. You have to have the sort of passion for angling, go get it, love for it, and then you also have to be able to put that somehow into a corporate sort of setting that's not overly corporate and horrible, but obviously is genuine, and sort of wear both hats. So yeah, my job's changed a lot. Early days was very, I think when I came in there was good social media started by Chris Collins, who was a chap in there, who was doing it. But in terms of Instagram, it was pretty non-existent. We had a good Facebook presence. Twitter, again, was pretty minimal, and everything's just extrapolated from there, really. I was conscious, I'll never forget going into the interview, of sort of not being too, nice. I think it was one of the, it was one of the strangest interviews I've ever been in terms of the interviewing panel was a mix between sort of anglers and people who are real, influential in business. And angling wise, I could talk to, I'm blue in the face to anglers. You've asked me a question, I'm spouting off here. But corporate wise, I was always a bit, I don't know, I've not had much experience probably at business at that level. So I was I wanted to be truthful in what I felt needed to be done at Angling Direct in order to sort of take it to the next level. And I went in and talked about how it needed and more of a sort of an on the bank angler presence, if you like. And yeah, I sort of set about that year one, and I was really lucky because the CEO at the time, Darren Bailey, Darren, if you're listening, I hope you are, mate. I owe him a lot because not only did he have faith in me, because I was a relative unknown before that, did a bit of work at Carpology. But apart from that, I hadn't really done a lot in terms of social media. I hadn't worked in big time business or anything like that. But he entrusted me to sort of have a plan, go to him with that plan, and then deliver it sort of to how I see fit. And I think about that now. If I had a company at that level that had the potential to reach that sort of turnover and that sort of profit and could be scaled to go into Europe, which it is now, to put your public facing front trust and everything into one bloke that you don't really know, that's a big call. And I'll forever be grateful to him because, yeah, he backed me in pretty much whatever I did. So I started doing lives because I felt...
Sorry to interrupt. So he kind of trusted you to, give
crazy
the brand
he must have been
a bit of a personality.
I must have caught him on a good day. I just said, I basically said to Darren, so went through the interview process, talked about what I thought it needed, as I said before, but then I pretty much was able to directly talk to him about what I wanted to do in terms of highlighting brands, but through us, because any retailer could get, and this is no disrespect to any retailers out there because they're all brilliant in what they do, but obviously Angling Direct had the resources there employing me that we could make our own media. So we could put our own angles on things, we could liaise with brands, and that obviously makes things easier for you because if you've got relationships within the trade with brands, it's not necessarily saying it's more forthcoming, but you've got more communication. You can get more, resources. You can get better, maybe pictures when you need them on a whim. Like I used to text you, didn't I, Alf, and say I need a picture of some Siren R3s or whatever it may be. So it's just building relationships. But on top of that, I said that we obviously can use the brands with us and do our own media, which is bespoke to us.
So the lives then, which is what a lot of people will know what you're sort of known for. Was that your idea when you sat down? Did they in the interview say, look, we need you to do live? Or did you go?
When I sat down with Darren and I said we need a presence. We need to be able to talk to our audience. We need not to be sort of so standoffish and like, if you like, a comparison would be like Tesco. So you go into Tesco, you might have a chat with the person serving you, but you, as an entity, it's quiet. It doesn't have a face. It doesn't have that personal feel. And angling is very different to sort of supermarkets in the fact that it's nice to have somebody there that you relate to, that you can talk to, that's synonymous with the brand. Like you guys are synonymous with Nash, like Alan is, like Kev is. So I think it needed that. And I said at that stage, we need to do something whereby you've got direct contact with your audience, whoever it may be. I didn't pitch the idea of lives at all. I remember, I think it was about 3 weeks in, I sat in my office because luckily, again, that's a whole other story that we could go down, but I just had our first child, so our first daughter. I was meant to start 2 weeks after our daughter was born. Our first daughter was born really early. Bless her. She was 6.5 weeks premature. So she was 2 weeks in hospital. She crashed once. It was horrible, baptism of fire, but touch wood, she's all right now. But they were really good in letting me start after all this had gone through because she was in hospital for a period of time. So I came back then and I thought, right, I need to sort of find a way of doing this, of being able to sort of talk directly to the audience. So I looked at it and thought, we could do stuff like, I don't know, like a group on Facebook. We could do stuff like ask and answer questions. We could do anything like that. Or what I could do is put it into one, which is a live, and just let people there and then sort of fire across with questions they may have and try and sort of deliver a bit of advice, but entertainment. And I remember calling Ollie Harper, who's the market manager now out there, and saying, Ollie, I'm going to do a live. I'm going to do a Facebook Live on the page. And he was like, because he didn't know me, like, it's a lot of trust to go live. You could absolutely mess it up. Do you know what I mean? Say anything. So he was like, oh, okay, like, what are you going to cover? And I said, well, I'm pretty confident in chatting to a camera and I'm quite confident in talking to people. So I said, I'll just sort of feel it out. I don't really know our audience. It'd be nice to know who's there that'd be interested in watching it. and it'd be nice to see how it sort of grows. So like the first 2 months, I think was just me pretty much in the office talking about various little tips and things.
Just on your own?
Yeah, like there was 20 people watching the first one. And I remember thinking, is this worth sticking with? Like, there's 20 people here. If I did this on my private page, there'd be 20 people, but maybe different people. But I thought, this got to be the most direct way of talking to people. So anyway, first 2 months, 3 months, whatever it was just in the office, and I'd do different things. So I remember one of them talking about like, because we'd had loads of questions about marker float setups. I didn't know if we'd done a video or something about that. So we went through that on the live, answered questions ad hoc, talked a little bit about promotions and stuff that was going on with Angling Direct as well. And they sort of developed from there. And then it got to the stage where I was like, right, well, I'm going to take this out on the bank. I'm going to go, because before that, it got so busy so quick with implementing social media strategies, analytics, the likes of, that you just don't have the time to go out on the bank because social media is 24/7. It's absolute madness. So plus having a new kid, it was carnage. So I thought, right, I'm going to go out on the bank, ulterior motive to get myself out on the bank, but I'm going to film them on the bank, maybe catching a few and doing whatever. And then the nature of being with Angling Direct is you've got every discipline of angling that you can tap into. So you can go out and fly fish, you can go out and cut. You're not necessarily having to go over the same content over and over again. So you can keep it quite fresh. And then that was just me going to, I don't know, a little commercial fishery, fishing on the pole, going fly fishing, doing a bit of carp fishing, whatever it was. And they started to get more and more traction, mainly because of the just regularity of the fact that they were always on a Thursday, they're always at the same time, and people know. And then I got to a point where it used to be about 150 people watching live, and I used to think, well, that's a good number of people who've like given up 7 p.m. on a Thursday. What could I do to take this to 250, 350? There was always an aspect to the live where like the company liked it because it's there. Once you've given that information, the live's there, it's hosted on the Facebook page, and they'd gather more and more views over time. But live, to have 150 people is a good deal of ears. Do you know what I mean? So, an eyeball. So, I started then to think, what could I do? So, the sort of brainchild was born to sort of branch it out and go with people who've got much bigger audiences that associate with brands. Twofold, we get to piggyback off their audience, selfishly, and also we're able to get that bespoke content sort of in. So
you've had a fair few guests, haven't you, over the past few years? Like,
I've been so lucky because like there's no budget for it. I wasn't paying people to come on. I used to have that question a lot. Do you pay people? No one was being paid to come on. They were just doing it out of the goodness of the heart, representing their brand, or they were friends from knowing them in the industry or whatever it may be. But I've had literally hundreds of guests, ranging from Al all the way through to Marina Gibson fly fishing, Geo from Monkey Club, the list goes on and on and on, Steve Ringer, every facet of angling. And that's been really good as a job because...
Never had me.
No, I think you slipped through the net, didn't you? We had Mikey and Tom, didn't we, a couple of times?
Yeah, everyone.
We thought we'd go down like C-list and then we'll go up to A-list later. Dan, you'd need a budget though, wouldn't you, mate?
Not once. Nothing.
You'd need a budget.
Did you do one, Alf?
No, I didn't do one.
It's awkward now, isn't it, lads?
This is awkward, isn't it?
Hey,
Why have we invited him?
Yeah, I'm not sure. Right, we'll gloss over that. Yeah, but yeah, so that's pretty much how the concept was born. And then from there, you start to get people like, you know what I mean, like that on. You develop more and more relationships with them. You get more and more viewing figures, and it becomes sort of ingrained. It's so regular, and it was brilliant. And I cannot honestly say one of those Thursdays was any effort at all to film. And I live in the north. Some of the drives I was doing like 12-hour drives a day, like 6 hours each way. But it's no trouble because you're meeting amazing people. You get to go for a day's fishing, and you get to chat to the audience, which is I think is really important. You get quite a lot of people that don't necessarily.
And on the point of the audience, sorry, Alf, it was a bit. You were saying it's quite a big step to jump in and suddenly be this face of what was quite a corporate brand, and the audience, I guess, are quite used to it just being somewhere they order their fishing tackle, not where they go and get their fishing fix from, or their engagement or their buzz. How did the audience sort of react to it?
To be fair, I was very lucky. Like, I think I remember having a chat with various people saying, like, if you go on a live, you're like putting yourself out there to get, do you know what I mean, some sort of abuse or whatever. And I can honestly say, I mean, obviously there's the odd comment here and there, but generally it was so well received and supported. I never ever got. There used to be the odd occasion where there was somebody who was angry about their item or stock or whatever, but in terms of sort of personal being at the forefront of it, I never got any of those comments that sometimes you see on potentially like YouTube videos or stuff like that that are just sort of out of left field. And I was very lucky because the audience that we had, it was the same people, like a lot of the same faces, the same names, like the amount of like times they'd watch week in, week out. And if there was ever any hint of whatever, they'd almost become a community and sort of defend you. Do you know what I mean? It was really like, it was really cool. But I was lucky. I never really had that. But then I don't know. I don't know if it's because I was lucky with the audience we had, or if I was just, as a point and principle, just honest. And I never tried to make out that I was, do you know what I mean, the best or most knowledgeable on any front. So I was just always stand by the point that you can only express or share information that you believe in, that you use yourself, and kept that sort of core value. Really, there was no ego or anything in it from my point of view, because it's fishing. I don't see it as that. So I don't know if that what the reason was, but yeah, so positive, like ridiculously positive.
Credit where it's due, mate. I mean, this day and age, to find something that's quite unique in a loud environment with social media, and that it really did sort of become. And you said with the consistency and everything, I think they're really, really successful.
I don't necessarily think it's anything that I've done there in terms of me, mate. I think anybody could have done it. I think it's just turning up. Do you know what I mean? Like if you turn up week after week, I think that counts for a lot. Because, yeah, like as I said, I love fishing. And if you didn't love fishing, I think this is something that I got from people saying, I want to do what you do. I said, you've got to understand that, like, if you don't love it, that is not something that you're going to sustain, because it is hard graft. Like, I dread to think the amount of miles, the amount of hours, just silly things that you don't even think about because you're doing something you love doing. It's not work. Whereas people think that they see the flip side of it from the reverse, and they see that, look, I can go out there and fish every Thursday, have a great time. They don't see that you've got to come back, do all the other social media responsibilities. You leave at 2 a.m, you come back at 3 a.m. They don't see that. They just see that you fishing and having a great time with people, and that is great. But there is another side of it as well. So if you don't love it, there's no way that you can sustain week in, week out doing that, especially when we get into winter.
The weather, the show goes on regardless. I mean, how's it been when it's just been absolutely hammering it down at 3 a.m. and you've got to drive 6 hours? Have you ever felt, like I could do with staying in today, nice warm cup of tea?
I love fishing. So to be fair, getting out regardless of the weather, I'm happy. Even if my hair's getting a bit wet, mate, I'll take it. I'm lucky twofold. Like, first and foremost, the most supportive missus. Like, even with the nippers and stuff, she's an absolute legend, Laura is. She's absolutely been brilliant throughout it. But I don't get tired at the wheel. You know how like we did a trip to Belgium with the lads, and like somebody's like drifting off at the wheel. I don't get tired driving. So I could drive indefinitely, right? And I've driven a lot in a day, and I won't say too much because probably HR will shut me down or whatever, but I've driven a lot in a day, but I never get tired at the wheel. But as soon as I stop, that is it. Like, I was going to say,
I can't imagine you getting tired full stop. You're just always just like,
I mean, yeah, of course, everyone you're a human being, you get tired, but I don't know what it is. Like, I don't need like Red Bull, coffee, or anything like that. I could drive, like 9 hours. So, for example, I've driven here today. It's 4 hours. I got up at like 2 a.m. Like, my kids don't sleep, mate. 2 of them now. Right. So I've probably had a couple of hours sleep max. I'll go home. I'll get home late. I'll sit up with the missus, have a nice catch up and a bit of tea. I probably won't sleep tonight, but I'll do it again. I don't get tired to that extent. But if I'm driving, never tired at the wheel. But as soon as I stop, I'm gone.
Well, it's a good job it's that way around.
Yeah, too right.
With me, with driving, if I do feel a bit tired, there's nothing going on unless you've got some good playlist on.
Nash Tackle podcast.
Yeah, but you've got Nash
Like
Tackle
it.
podcast. Who
Love
could
it.
fall asleep? Yeah,
Who could fall asleep?
Probably a lot of people.
Me.
That calm, soothing tones of Dan Yeomans.
Yeah.
No.
Peripheral.
Yeah. Tunes or a podcast, mate. That's pretty much it. But yeah, no, I'm lucky like that. I think that's just something that's always been there. It'd be a nightmare if it's the other way around.
Yeah.
Yeah. So the podcast, the live, sorry, with it being such a diverse, you said angling direct, it's not just carp fishing, it's everything.
No.
And every week, I guess, different in terms of what you're fishing for. I guess that helped quite a lot, because would you class yourself as more of an all-rounder than a carp fisherman? Or is carp really...
It's a difficult one. I think if you said to me, Hassan, you've got 24 hours, what are you going to fish for? I'd go and fish for carp. I'd go and fish that lake right behind you, mate. Not that one.
Yeah,
Not
keep
that
going
one.
a bit.
The stock pond.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'd actually fish the stock pond this time, just get a bite. No, I'd go carp fishing. But I think inherently from the very beginning, I can get the same buzz out of fishing for anything. So I do love perch fishing, pike fishing, everything. But I think just above them all, if I had the choice, it would be carp fishing.
Yeah.
But that doesn't mean to say that I don't get the same buzz out of going down the canal and catching some wasps on a drop shot or whatever it may be. It's that, I don't know, it's that angler in you, isn't it? You get that fix and you know what I mean? So...
And have you always been like that?
Yeah, I think, it's a weird story. Like, you get the textbook question of like, how did you start fishing? That sort of thing.
How did you start
Oh,
fishing?
look, there you go.
I was
Hey,
waiting
he's
for
not
that
gonna
one.
segue,
You just,
yeah.
Just gone straight down your list of questions.
He's just crossed off his one question. Like, damn it, he's just...
Oh, I was looking forward to that.
Yeah, it's a weird one. So, like, family-wise, I don't know, it's probably not typical of many anglers or many of the anglers you see in the industry. So, like, my father of Afghan descent came to the country. His father passed away, unfortunately, so he's one of 14, so he's from a big sort of traditional like Muslim family.
Blimey.
And then he met my mum in Leicester, and mum's family are Leicester through and through, like, generations upon generations of people that have stayed within Leicester themselves. She's like...
Like Walkers then. Big Walkers.
Walkers, you're on it, mate. There you go. You know Leicester. Gary Lineker, Walkers.
That's all I
Peter
know
Shilton,
about it, but...
The Wild Boars. There you go. That's all you need to know. So that's a bit of a meeting of cultures. So obviously they got together. Mum had a big family as well. She's one of 6, so they're big families. And nobody fished. No one fished.
Really?
No one. Not one person. Not one from mum's side. Not from dad's side. Dad does remember, like, he's got very vague memories because he came over when he was very young. Vague memories of his father hunting, like, but not fishing. So there was no, like, precedence for fishing at all. Up comes me. So I've got 2 older sisters, me and then a younger brother. So I'm like the middle, first boy, classic randomer in the middle there. And, from day one, just an absolute obsession with it. To the point, it's probably like, people already think I'm weird, but this is proper weird. Like, where my mum is going down to Asda on a Friday, because that's when she does her shop, and she's going to the fish counter, and she's going to Matey Boy the fishmonger, like, can I just have the head of that taupe there, mate? And he's like, what? He's like, the head of that taupe. Do you eat it? Do you eat the eyes? Or nah, it's my son, that is. He's like, what? She must think that she's part of some, like, black magic cult or something. So he's got this taupe head in a bag from Asda. Mum's come home, unpacked the shopping on the floor. There's me. Like, I'm like 3, mate. Like, I shouldn't be playing with stuff like that. She's given me a full taupe's head, right? I've got my old Fisher-Price rod out. If anybody had this rod, you're an absolute legend. I am 35, so maybe this phased out when most of you saw this. But a Fisher-Price toy rod, black handle, little button to let the line out, little red rod rings. I remember it vividly. I've put, like, parcel string in it so that it's got enough. Do you know what I mean? And I've tied it. I've looped it round the inside of the mouth of this taupe, and I'm chucking it round my lawn. Honestly, this is not...
Your neighbours must have thought your family was mental.
Well, I think what I was mental. The rest of them seem all right. Do you know what I mean? So I was chucking it around my lawn. I remember, like, summer, like, Mum used to be, like, picking bits of, like, fish off the lawn. And, like, there used to be loads of cats and foxes. It's like playground for them,
I was
wasn't
going to say, I bet that...
we got to the
made the cats
point.
happy.
It got to the point where, like, she was refreezing them to reuse them rather than going and get... It was just bonkers. Then we got ponds, and I was fishing for actual fish in the... It was an absolute obsession, mate, to the point where unhealthy. But I think this is, again, where I'm massively fortunate. It's a running theme through probably my life. Both my parents, you could not get two more supportive, beautiful people in the world. Both of them the most loving, caring people in the world. I had the best upbringing, but they would support you in whatever you did, no matter how crazy. So there's me. I'm pestering Dad. John Wilson's on telly. I'm watching Go Fishing all the time. I've got to a stage where I'm collecting that in the Art of Fishing encyclopedia, where you got a monthly, like little slot, which you got from the news agents. You read about all this fishing in there. And I'm absolutely, categorically obsessed.
Where did it come from?
No idea. Nobody knows. Like,
just from when you were literally
born.
A toddler. It was just.
I could name all the sharks when I was like some of my first words were like, "That's a nurse shark. That's a black-tip reef shark. That's a great white." Like a kid, I used to have figures, and then it went into fishing from there. It was any fish,
right?
And then, but I think it is definitely a personality trait across all our families. So each one of us kids has something that is like an obsession. They've all got like an obsessive personality, which obviously, if you've got that, can be positive, can also be negative. So like my elder sister is like a producer. She's bang into media. She works so hard, and that is her. Like my youngest sister, she's very arty. She's into like drama. That is her. My bro is like mega into tennis, like quality tennis player. And he's all, do you know what I mean? Like they have something, all of us, that is almost consuming. But fishing, absolutely no precedence in either family. So it developed from there to the point where Dad has his own business. He still works now. He's like over 70. Dad, you need to retire if you're listening to this and go and enjoy yourself because you deserve it. But he's had a fabrics printing, labelling business for 40 years now. And he used to have a rep who fished. And I remember I'm 7, 8, and I'm going, Dad, I want to go fishing. Dad, I want to go fishing. Take me fishing. Dad don't know the first thing about fishing. Dad's like, I don't want to sit out in the cold. So he got this rep, and he was like, right, you need to take my lad fishing. So Dad and me got in the car. I remember going with this rep, and it was freezing cold, and it was like I didn't have any gear. Do you know what I mean? Like Adidas tracky bottoms or whatever you'd wear as a kid. Got to this lake, cat ice everywhere, but I remember absolutely being so buzzing because I knew not, even though I'd had the Encyclopedia of Fishing and was reading it, you don't know, you've never been.
So this was your my first proper
ever
fishing experience.
Yeah. So he's taken me to this freezing lake, and he's put a float out, just what seemed like in a massive body of water, but it was probably a tiny puddle in the end. And I'm just watching this float. It's doing absolutely nothing, but I'm there, mate. I'm like, I'm in. I remember Dad going back to the car because it was freezing cold. I remember this bloke going, oh, it doesn't look like... You know when somebody's trying to wind it in, and you sort of know somebody's trying to wind it in, don't you? They're like, oh, it doesn't look like it's going to happen today. It didn't happen. We caught absolutely jack all. But I remember getting in the car and being absolutely buzzing, like, let's go again, let's go again. Tell him let's go again.
Because it's funny, we do a lot of the kids fishing days, don't we? And even if, like, you try and really buzz them up and just be like, floats in, just watch that now, it's going to go any minute.
Yeah.
You see the fizzers, and some of them just don't give a shit. They're just like, nothing.
Think that's
It's
where-
it's gone under, mate, you got one. It's like,
It's almost as if their parents are forcing them to go. Not for everyone, but then when you do see that one who, like you said, where it's almost born into you, and they're just, they don't want to leave. You get the ones who it's time to go home now, and they're just like, no, I don't want to go. And you can sort of tell, and a group of kids, exactly the ones that
I'd have been there till like my limbs fell off. Do you know what I mean? I was well up for it. So it started essentially that way, and then after that session, I bugged him so bad to take me again. And I remember him trying to like sort out with this bloke to go, but it's always a bit like, well, he wants to do his own fishing and all this sort of stuff. So it didn't happen. But then I was lucky because in the local village, there was a good tackle shop, Fred's Bait and Tackle, it was called. I went down, had a bit of money for a birthday, and I said, look, sort me out a float setup and tell me where to go. I'd read a bit more. I'd watched a few more John Wilson go fishing. It's like, I'm ready to go here. Like, so I got this 13-foot rod. I remember thinking, this is massive. Like, huge. A little reel, all lined up, bit of shot, some hooks to nylon, some floats, the usual. And he told us about a lake. He goes, go here, go to CJ's Fisheries, like that. and Dad was talking to him, and I was like, right, CJ's Fisheries. So that was back in the days of like maps, mate. There was no like sat nav. So we found this like yellow pages, whatever it might have been for CJ's Fisheries. We've gone down there, like not the first clue, mate. It's like a commercial fishery. We've gone around there like going, Dad don't know what he's doing. Dad's gone like, where's the owner? I've got to tell him that I'm fishing. So we've spent like an hour trying to find the owner to tell him that we're fishing on his lake, not knowing that you could just set up there and he'll come round and sort you out a day ticket. So finally found the owner, sat down and like set up what must have been the most horrific of float rigs, like bad, and like dropped it in the edge, a maggot on, just randomly chucked some maggots about, and the thing's going under. Like it's constantly going under. And like I'm like, oh, do I lift up now? Dad's like, no, leave it. And this float's gone. It's just gone for like a couple of minutes. I've lifted it up, and like these poor perch, mate, like they had it so far down them, it was almost coming out of them. Do you know what I mean? It was horrific. Like the mortality rate of those poor perch was poor angling, but we didn't know any better. Like we really didn't. So
you've just reminded me of one that I've never told anyone here. I remember my dad taking me to a fishing match a couple of days after Christmas, and we'd been to the tackle shop and got all sorts, like there was tutti frutti boilies, there was ground bait, there's not a clue. And my dad's read, he don't fish, like it's same. He's read on the back that you need to mix ground bait with water. I remember taking water from home. I was taking water from home in 2 empty milk cartons to mix my ground bait.
Milk water, mate.
Instead of like just using
I'd like to
the lake.
Like, how is that thought process? All right, you got your water, Dan. You got your water. Ground bait water. Ground bait.
I'm here, boys.
But I honestly, that thought has not crossed my mind at all in 20 years. Until you've just said that.
It was so rogue, mate, because it was literally the blind leading the blind. Like there were points where I remember having like we bought this telescopic rod that had like snap swivels on it, and I was putting like a float on, and the snap swivel was just sinking it. So I was putting like 2 floats on. I was like double. It was just all sorts of experimentation. Like, probably at the detriment to sort of fish care, but it was how it started. And I remember on that first trip catching something like 15 perch and just being absolutely buzzing, like unbelievably buzzing. I'm not sure how buzzing Dad was like. He was just like, oh God, here we go. But there was a bloke that was fishing further down, and he'd caught loads of carp, mate, and he had them in a keep net, and he was packing up. And I remember stopping fishing and going over to see him, because as he was pulling his net in, you could just see them, and I thought, what has he got in there? And he just let all these carp go, and I was like, jeez, because I'm catching perch and thinking, well, that's a good one, that's 3 ounces, or do you know what I mean? And he's just got a sack full of commons. I distinctly remember him, a sack full of commons, and thought, wow, that is different level. And then from that point, I pretty much stayed on that lake. The owner of that lake, John Tozer, I got to know really well, and his wife, Christine, bless her, she's passed away. We got really good mates with them. Dad started printing their tickets, their day tickets, so we got free fishing. So we used to be up there all the time. And he was so nice to us, because we were just complete novices, and he knew that. He could have been horrendous to us, but he was always like well encouraging. He's like, yeah, come down. He was real nice, like such a top bloke. And if it weren't for that, I sort of feel, if you don't know and you don't get that sort of positive first, I don't know, impression or go, you can fall out of love with it pretty quick.
Definitely.
Yeah, if it becomes too intimidating or whatnot.
So we stayed on that lake and we fished, and as you do, you sort of you develop in the terms of just being there fishing, doing time on the bank, but also you learn more. You're young, so you watch what other people are doing, you talk to people at a really good bait shop as well. So it all sort of grew into developing yourself as an angler. And from there, because it was a commercial fishery and it had open matches, I fished the open matches there to the point where you knew the fishery and you knew you were going to do well in the open match because you fish it day in, day out. And that's the place that I caught my first carp. I remember Dad not being there. I think he was with work. And I had my cousin and his uncle. And we went and we were fishing down a real shallow bay. And I just saw, we always used to fish waggler and maggot, nothing else. And it was summer. And I remember seeing this absolute like eruption on the surface. And without like thinking about it or knowing about it, I just chucked a waggler just at this boil. Like with thinking, I just thought, yeah, looks like there's something I should chuck at. Do you know what I mean? Chucked at it, and then it literally just ripped it out of my hands. And I was so lucky because I didn't know anything about drags or anything. I was so lucky that the reel, if you like, was giving line and was set at a good drag tension, because otherwise it just snapped me off straight away.
This is the first carp you've ever heard?
Carp. Like, I remember just thinking, what in the world? I think I've given it, this is a very vivid memory in my head, I've given it the classic, oh yeah, we've got one on, or something John Wilson-esque, and there's like two matchmen with long poles opposite me just going, who's this idiot? Like
how old were you at this point?
Oh, I'm not old. I'm like 8, maybe 9. Do you know what I mean? I'm young. Like, I'm down the bottom end of this little, it was a pretty rectangular lake, but down the bottom end there's loads of reeds. And I remember always fishing down there, chucking in the reeds. You'd always get a few perch knocking about. It's full of fish. And I'd never hooked a carp. I don't know how I'd gone through, because there was that many carp in there. I'd never hooked one. And this one that I remember seeing this massive boil and just instinctively chucking at it, it ripping off in my hand. And luckily, as I said, the clutch was not set, but it was slack enough to let enough out to not break me off. And I sort of fumbled together and knew what we had to do, got it in the net, and just being like, oh my Lord, like that was it, done. Like, ridiculous. And then I progressed to like pole fishing, into match fishing, and sort of made Dad, and still he is now, like a lifelong angler as well. We still, when we can, go together. He loves it.
Oh wow, really?
He loves
He's into it.
Yeah, he loves it. Like, don't get me wrong, he doesn't get involved in like dealing with too many rigs or anything like that. He's not very technical, but whenever I go back to Leicester, which is quite frequent because I get free grandparenting, I get Dad out and we go fishing. It's like our little thing.
Yeah.
And he wouldn't have fished if it weren't for that. Do you know what I mean? But
yeah, that's amazing.
Yeah, it's cool. And you know what it's like when it becomes that much of an obsession. It becomes your work, and it develops into that. Everybody associated with you either has to hear about it, or if they're sick of hearing about it, they end up going with you. Do you know what I mean? And that's pretty much how it is. My 2 daughters, I take them all the time. Like, they're 2 and 3. Do you know what I mean?
Stars in the making, are they? They loving it?
I don't know about stars in the making, mate. But as long as they, like, I don't know, for me, it's important that something that's given me so much is passed down to them. And I wouldn't want my kids to be 2 kids that don't have an appreciation for the outdoors, nature, and everything that goes with fishing that is positive. I'm not saying however people want to sort of parent and however they want their kids to grow up, health and all that sort of stuff is important. But for me, I think an appreciation of the outdoors, not being in all the time on social media, even though it's my job, and things like that, is really important to instill in them. And also just the basic sort of biology, getting their hands dirty, like, it's important for me, that is, and Laura as well. So they're very active and outdoorsy, so I take them for little short stints all the time, and they love it, and I hope that I don't overdo it to the point where they don't love it, but I'll tread that line carefully. So yeah, like, as I said, it's gone from match fishing, and as I said, I was a Leicester boy, so before I learnt to drive, I did a lot of fly fishing. I went into fly fishing after that.
Really?
Not into carp fishing, which is a bit weird, but I don't know where the fly fishing buzz came from.
Yeah, it's not the natural progression that we hear about. Yeah,
did match fishing and got a bit bored of match fishing because I didn't have the means to, because I didn't drive. I was still young. I was doing well in the open matches at CJ's, but didn't have the means to sort of go up to the next level of match fishing because I was young. So Leicester had so many good match. Like Rob Wootton used to fish the same venues. He's an incredible match angler. Like, his dad used to own the Fred's Tackle where I went. His dad took over that tackle shop, Pete Wootton. I've got a lot to thank him for as well. But I went into fly fishing. I think I went to a show at a local leisure centre, and then I was like, fly. So there was Ibrook, there was Thornton, there was Pittsford. There's loads of reservoirs around Leicestershire that were fly. Do you know what I mean? And I got a massive fly, but loved it. Absolutely loved it. Ivor Jones, who a lot of people know, he owns Draycott, he owns Thornton, runs all the fisheries there. He was brilliantly supportive again, because I was just some random sort of 14, 15-year-old bloke dropped off by his parents who was going out in a boat on his own in Thornton. He could have just said, nah, mate, come on. But he was just like, yeah, crack on, go for it. Do you need anything? These flies are working, head over there. I sort of self-taught. I never got a casting lesson, just self-taught. I loved it. I caught my first trout, believe it or not. I'd like had a long day thrashing the water to a foam. It always felt like they were a little bit further out. In hindsight, they were probably like 10 yards away, but I was just a terrible caster. And I just went, oh, like that, and dropped my rod. And I remember the daddy longlegs going like on the edge of the boat, just about like hooking, as in the hook point in the edge of the boat. And a gust of wind took it and it just fell in. And as soon as it hit the surface, this trout's come right next to the boat, had it. And I'm like, oh, crap. There's like line everywhere. This thing's taking. I'm going like that. It's jumping. Carnage. And then probably the more brutal point is I've got it in, and at that point it's trout fishing, so you have to dispatch it. What do you do? I've not got a priest. What do I do? Like that.
What did you do?
Well, I took an oar, didn't I?
It was like something out the in-between.
Oh, it's horrendous. It's horrendous, mate. But I took an oar. I had nothing.
Would you say the owner's name was?
Ivor Jones. He still runs it now.
So Ivor's just on the bank going, I've let that kid go out on his own in the boat, and you're just going, dang, dang.
Honestly, I was more, and like, I've just realised that the start of this podcast, killing perch and now killing a trout, makes me seem like some sort of bloodthirsty non-fish cat.
Yeah,
but
we've got to move on to carp so you can get...
Yeah, but I was more concerned about, like, leaving that fish to, like, like struggle until it died. I was like, I don't want that.
Yeah,
if that was me, I would want to be put out of my misery. Do you know what I mean? And that's the fishery rules at the time. There was no catch and release. You caught a trout, you had to kill it.
Really?
Yeah, on that fishery, you were on a 2-fish limit. I went on for the evening because mum and dad dropped me off after work. 2-fish limit. Take them. You can't put them back. So I'm in the boat. There's other boats watching. I've absolutely nodded it. Somehow got it in the net like that, and I've thought, oh no. So I've just had to take the priest to it. It's just horrendous. But obviously the fish was dispatched, and that was the first trout. And then don't ask me how, don't ask me when, but I got a little cheeky silver Vauxhall Corsa as soon as I passed my test. What a car.
My first car as well, actually.
What a car.
Classic.
Y32 RUT, I remember that. If anyone's got it, that was quality. But that's independence. And in between that stage, I had, your classic sort of GCSE A-level, maybe a bit before, actually, maybe sort of end of year, like 9, summers that are really long, because you've either done exams, you've got exams coming up, or you've got a bit of time. And I just started to morph into specimen carp fishing. I don't really know what prompted that. I don't think there was anything more to do trout-wise. I didn't want to do matches. I'd fished all the venues. And I just went into specimen carp, and I could drive, so I could get about the place. So yeah, that was all born. But that was sort of, I don't know, that was... It was all. I think I was always going to do it.
Did you stay around Leicester at that point?
Yeah,
or did you
so I
start
was
to venture
quite
out?
local. I think I started carp fishing, specimen carp fishing. There was BB Spring Grange, I think it's called now. It had a course lake, a commercial lake, which we used to fish back in the day. Then it had a specie carp lake, and it was like an acre with an island in the middle. Had a couple of little cats in it, but it had some better carp. I used to fish there. Caught fish to I think I caught my first 20 on there in the court, absolutely hacking it with rain, loads of wind, classic southwesterly, low pressure system. Just whacked a single bunch of corn on a little stacker over there and caught. I was like, oh my days, the size of that thing. I remember ringing Dad and saying, Dad, I need a photo. It's like classic. He'd come down and gone what have you caught? And even he went, oh mate, it's massive. So I'd never seen a fish probably that big. And then from there, I started to move a little bit further away. But I remember getting Crafty Carper, Total Carp, and all those magazines, and started talking about syndicates and day tickets. And I did a load of day tickets around about the place. I wasn't that much successful. It was an absolute mare, really, because I didn't know how to do anything. I could tie rig with a supple braid, rich for tutti frutti boilies,
classic
stringers. But in terms of feeling the lead down watercraft and stuff, I had my course fishing watercraft. But when you go on to popular day tickets like Cuttle Mill and the likes of, it's a step up, isn't it?
Yeah.
So you struggle for a bit, you might catch a few, you might have a great trip. Do you know what I mean? So I sort of built my carp in that way on a lot of day tickets. And then I remember a ticket, being informed about a ticket. It was a place called J&S Fisheries. It was in Quenimburgh in Leicester. I think it's still going. Don't quote me on this. I think Dave Jones and somebody else runs it. But basically, it was a syndicate at the back of a business park. It's just a real big like rectangular lake, like in the middle of like a field, sugar beet fields. So there's not much around it. But I remember at that stage wanting to catch like more 20-pound carp and sort of developing in terms of targeting fish. So I went there. I remember speaking to Scott Johnson, who ran it. Big love Scott. He runs a tackle shop now, Kegworth somewhere, top bloke. He took me round. He said, look, these are the known fish. There's the football common, there's scar mirror, there's all these. So you're like, oh, this is proper now. Yeah. Like that. It's 3 acres.
I've got names now.
Fish,
it's serious.
Yeah, this is proper. Right. He goes, yeah, like, you'll feel your way into it. You'll be all right. Like that. He just left me to it. Got the key to the gate. Happy days. I used to do so much time on there, mate. It was frightening. Jim Shelley had nothing on me. Like, it was mad. It was absolutely mad. I used to bait up. I used to walk it. I used to honestly live and breathe it. It was frightening. Used to do homework there. I remember doing homework there. I remember doing GCSE revision there. Didn't do any of that, much of that. Yeah, stay in school, kids, work hard. And I remember literally one by one being able to sort of develop as an angler in terms of rig, presentation, finding fish, but also targeting fish. That scarred mirror was 24 pounds something when I caught it, by far. 4 pound bigger than any fish I'd ever caught. Yeah. And I remember thinking, right, I want to catch this fish. Right, what am I going to do? I need to find it. I need to see where it lives. I need to see, I need to have a look at where it's come out from, what it's come out on bait-wise and whatever else. And at that point, sitting in Nash HQ, I'm going to say mainline cell, I was piling in cell. And it was just when cell came out. And I was putting in way more than anybody else. And I was putting it in the areas where it'd been caught from. There used to be a tree which was like undercut, very Ollie Davis, half a wrap. And people used to fish it from this side. He used to cast to the front of the tree, but there was a massive clear, like blatant, you probably wouldn't fish it now, right under the tree. It's just been absolutely gorged out because it's relatively weedy in the marginal shelf and it dropped down to some depths. But the marginal shelf was where I caught a lot of fish. I used to go around, feed a few spots. If I couldn't get on those spots because there were other anglers, I used to have a bedded bait which I was putting in the cell, which was a banker area, sort of between two swims. So a lot of people were fishing it this way. And I thought, well, I'm going to put some bait in on that spot and fish it the other way from in the trees. And I'll never forget going there Sunday afternoon, 4 o'clock. I got there thinking, right, it's going to get dark at 8. I've got 4 hours, and I've been putting bait in. I went round to this tree and I saw 3 fish come in, 3 fish that I'd caught before, not fussed about. And then another fish came in. And I remember looking at it thinking, that looks a bit bigger, and it was at the back of the spot. It's a little bit deeper down the marginal shelf. A little fleck of white on the back of its tail. And that was the football common that everybody talked about. It's like massive. It's waddling around. I was like, whoa, I want to catch that football common. Like, that's one of my targets. So I basically crumbed up a load of cell, dotted it around the spot, and then got a rig in place because I thought he's going to come back here. He hadn't fed. He just ghosted across the spot. I hadn't had any bait on that spot at all. And they came in. I remember the same 3 fish came in, took a few mouthfuls, off they went. I remember like fishing fluorocarbon, lifting a couple of times where they just picked it up on some fins as they were swimming by. And I remember this football common sort of going, literally, it got to the spot, sped up, and then doubled back on itself. And it was coming back, and it was not barely moving between little bits of crumb. And it was just, and I thought, it's going to happen. I've got like the most blatant 18 mil. I remember it was like 18 mil cell, but I'd put a bit of cork in it because I thought that might counterbalance the weight of the hook. It's just ridiculous. I'm fishing crumb around it. Anyway, I thought he's going to have it. And he's just literally mouthful, side to side, like a zigzag. And I thought, right, I'm in here. I'm ready. What I'm going to do is get in, put my rod tip under so it goes under the tree canopy. I've planned it all out in my head. Something's happened behind me, like a crack or something. And I thought, oh, bloody hell, what's that? And I've looked behind me just to sort of solid up my footing just to see if it wasn't somebody or whatever. And I've looked back and my rod is, no buzzer, obviously just absolutely zipping like that. And I thought, oh, I've got it. So I've got in. I'm literally under the bushes. You know what it's like with those sorts of fights. You just got to give it everything. And if the hook pulls. You can't risk it, because if it goes past a certain point around the corner, you're never getting it back. The water's too deep for me to get out any further. Luckily, I've managed to get it in. As soon as it's come into view, it's not the football common, it's the scar mirror. So he's come in out of nowhere and just gone like that and gone. In that little mini second that I've looked away, I've got it in, and I remember that. I'll never forget that. It's like that first carp, isn't it? Your eye is just, I don't know where it is. I wouldn't want to say where it is, and your knees are just absolutely in bits. Caught it, had the photos with it, absolutely brilliant. And I remember that being like a pinnacle sort of moment etched in my memory, because it's the first time, all right, I didn't see it in the swim, but I targeted specific fish, gone through catching a lot, but I was fishing areas that I knew they came out from, and there's the ones that you wanted. And I think from that point, my sort of, love affair, or I don't know, relationship sounds a bit strange. Obsession with carp fishing was sort of solidified. And then it got to the point where, like, through being very lucky with like uni.
That's what I was going to ask. So how old were you when you're driving now?
I'm like 16, 17, 18. I'm doing a lot. And there, I passed my driving test at like 17 and 3/4. I'm nearly 18, so I'm driving. 18 to sort of 19, I'm now like, I've got a year where like I'm not really doing a lot uni, and I'm going to uni. I've got a gap year basically. So at this time, it's worth me saying, I was like quite heavily involved in tennis. So playing a lot of tennis. So you're busy, you're doing a lot of training, you're making sure you're in good nick and things like that. So that took up a lot of time, but a good release was you fishing. You used to be able to train early doors, maybe in the morning. You used to have the rest of the afternoon off, go fishing or whatever it was is you meant to do. And having the car is brilliant. Drive, train, drive to the lake, put some bait in, maybe fish it tomorrow, maybe fish it that night if you see an opportunity. So that's around about then. And then I obviously went to uni. Now at uni, I went to like Cov and Warwick, so I was very like close to Leicester, so I could still fish the same waters and drop in whenever I could. So again, I'd rock up to them, I'd fish the same waters that I fished before, catch whatever you wanted to catch. But it was at that point that I started to sort of branch out in terms of my fishing. So like Cov Warwick way, you're driving an hour maybe to get there from Leicester. So driving an hour the other way to like the Nene Valley or those sort of waters, Bluebells, was no worries now because you're used to it. So before that, I was keeping things a lot more local. So uni happened, got through 3 brilliant years, somehow got a degree in sport and exercise science, which I clearly really used that. And then throughout uni times, I was lucky with tennis and everything else to be able to travel. So that got to the point where I had the big carp buzz. I wanted to go and fish and really concentrate on waters in the UK. But I was in places like Thailand, Australia, New Zealand, Fiji. I was lucky because I was there living the dream. And I then, instead of being able to fish for carp, I still wanted to go fishing. So I was so lucky in catching loads of different species. So sailfish in the Indian Ocean, like I've done them all, mate. Like I'm so lucky. Obviously Mekong catfish, the likes of in Thailand, GTs in Australia,
no way.
All that stuff. But I loved it. Like I did miss carp fishing, but I knew that I had to get that angling fix. And I was out there as a bloke, single, living the dream. You're fishing, you've got to do. Do you know what I mean? It's just in you. I couldn't leave it. Have
you got photos of all of this?
Yeah, all of them, mate. Well, I look horrific.
People would have just seen the photos get put up.
You'd have seen some on Insta, mate. Yeah, as well. Unreal. Follow me on Insta. So I was so lucky. Did all that. It's the early days of the Ebro. So I was in Spain a fair bit as well. Did all that early doors.
How have you funded that?
Yeah, I was lucky, mate. I was very lucky because I was backed. Playing tennis, etc.
Right.
So that is money taken care of. So you haven't got to worry about. Obviously, I chipped the parents up for a bit if it was like. So I remember going. I was in Cairns in Australia. Got up the East Coast, which flew into Sydney. Played, went up the East Coast. Cairns. I'm like, it's mangrove. Like you see Rex Hunt like chucking lures into like mangroves and catching barra.
Yeah.
I'm like, I've got to do this. And I remember going up there, and matey boy had this little like skiff of a boat, and he was like, I can't remember what he was called, but he was like operated a tour. So you booked on for the day. He took you, all gear included. You just go and do your thing, right? I got there and I was like, right, mate, I'm free here now. Like, let's do it. And he was like, right, that'll be like $550. And I was like, really? Like that? And I was like, Mum, my birthday's coming. Can I go? So they used to chuck me some money in my account if it was something like that.
Yeah.
And I went out and caught like finger mark brim, all the sort of stuff that Rex Hunt did in those mangroves.
Yeah.
Like not as textbook, because I went in the wrong time of the year. I went when it was like their autumn winter. So instead of like chucking lures in, you were chucking like a live bait and drifting it in. But still the same sketch. Brilliant, like amazing fishing. Same with sail fishing for like in the Maldives, Indian Ocean. Like that was like part funded by the parents.
I'm feeling
Absolute
very
legends.
inadequate here now.
Mate, I was so, and that's what I said before. I don't want to give it the Billy, ooh, yeah, I've done all this. But I was so lucky because I just think there's not many people have those opportunities to travel to those places, let alone have the sort of, how can you say, want or whatever to have discovered angling and be able to do it. Because now I speak to people who go like, yeah, I want to go catch a Nile perch. And like I did like the Lake Nasser Abu Simbel safari. Like I did a week on a liverboard there catching Nile perch. Like brilliant. Do you know what I mean?
That's
like
real, mate.
I think it's
I
really
just loved it.
really
Yeah,
good,
yeah.
especially because university for me, that was, I found other interests, pub. But to be able, obviously with your tennis, to be able to have that.
I
reason to-
always had that. I don't know. I think it's just me. Like probably shouldn't. You always have like women. Booze was never a thing. I don't know if it's because Dad was like, yeah. So Dad's obviously come from a Muslim faith. My mum converted and is now Muslim, but they never forced that religion on us. I wouldn't say any of us are Muslim or religious in any way. We have a belief system, believe there's something there, but not to that sort of structured religion. But obviously, alcohol was never really in the house. It was never something we sort of.
That'd be why then. That's why you went fishing.
Yeah, there's always women there. Like, do you know what I mean? There's always girls, isn't there? You go on a night out. There's always, there's always something like
Speak
that
for
could
yourself.
potentially, yeah, that could potentially, or boys, whatever you're into, that could sort of take your eye. But no, it never. Yeah, no, I just loved it so much, and I thought I'm here.
Yeah, I have to say, I'm quite jealous to have that.
Nah, you'll do it, mate.
Yeah, one day, but like. I see some of these fish now as well, and I'm following more on Instagram, just like your Soundfish, your GT, and I'm thinking, like, it was never used to be that much of an interest to me. But what experience, especially with everything going on at the moment, I think you just appreciate that.
Yeah, like I appreciate, because I speak to people who want to go out there like now, and they're like probably my age, and they've got like a couple of kids, and like it's difficult. Life gets more complicated, and then there's more on you. And a lot of those fish. So for example, Lake Nasser, I can't remember the name of the bloke it was the African angler. John Wilson wrote a book on it. I remember getting the book and studying it, buying the same gear, making sure that I was completely. He did a couple of go fishings on there, casting from the rocks and stuff. I remember going, right, I'm going to do that because I'm in Egypt. 2 and 2 together, get it done. I remember that fishing when I was there at Lake Nasser, and forgive me, on my Insta there's pictures of all the Nile perch, but I can't remember what year. It was a while ago, and even then it was on the very much decline as a fishery. There's a lot of commercial netting. A lot of the Nile perch were being taken for food. It wasn't really legislated, the fishing on there. And I remember in more recent times, like Jeremy Wade doing River Monsters, and he went to Murchison Falls and caught a big Nile perch, which is where you have to go now because Lake Nassau's just been absolutely destroyed.
I was going to say, I thought it had gone.
Yeah, it's gone, mate.
I remember those old days watching John Wilson and that on doing it, and that I always loved perch. To see one like hundreds of pounds, £150 perch, it's like, what the fuck,
mate? That place is lawless. Like, you think like going down the local park lake is like can be pretty sketchy, but I remember going on a liverboard with 3 blokes. One was a cook.
Sorry, forgive me. What's a liverboard?
So you're on the boat. So basically, it's a safari. It was called the African Angler. It's a safari, Nile perch safari. So you get on the boat at Aswan, big dam. Get on the boat at Aswan. You basically, Lake Nasser's massive, but you go up one shoreline for 3 days. You divvy back on yourself, and you go on the bottom shoreline for the next 3 or 4 days, and you go back to Aswan, right? So you basically go up. There's some ruins and temples at Abu Simbel, which is the furthest point you go out, and then you come back. You stop off on the islands, you do a bit of bank fishing, but the rest of the time you're trolling with outboards. You've got a low rounds to spot the fish and all that. So I remember getting on the boat there, going out, like trolling. There was 3 blokes. One bloke was a cook, right? Brilliant. He's on there, he's cooking for you, happy days. There's a generator on the boat, there's a crew boat where they slept, and there's your boat, okay? Then there's another bloke on there who's the driver. So he's on the fish finder, he's setting the rods out when you're trolling, he's doing lure choices, he's trying to find fish for you, basically. And then there's one other bloke, and I was like, what is your job? what do you do? I never really, and they spoke really good English, like, but I was like, I don't know what he does. I remember getting really pally with the skipper, because obviously we're sitting together, especially when we're trolling for long periods of inactivity. You start talking, and I remember going, what does he do? And he goes, oh, don't worry. And I was like, this is a bit weird, isn't it?
Yeah.
So I've gone like, no, but now, like, tell me what he does. And he goes, security. And I was like, what do you mean security? And he goes, security. And I was like, okay. Over the course of like the next day, he's like showing me everything, mate. He's got like 2 guns in his face. He goes, well, you get off on this bank, there could be anybody from like, you go into like near Sudan, there could be anybody kidnap you. Do you know what I mean? Or take you. He's there if anything kicks off, just to start firing shots and stuff.
You'd be ringing your mum for a
oh my God.
What's the payment called?
I've gone, mate.
When you're hostage.
A ransom.
The ransom, that's it.
Yeah.
You'll be ringing your mum for a ransom this time.
£3 for me. Do you know, but like,
Nah, keep him.
Yeah, have him. Yeah, exactly. So that I remember that being just lawless. The trolling in the heat was relentless. Like, it's so hot, isn't it? You're in the middle of you know what it's like if you go offshore in England and it's a warm day. In Egypt, just frightening. And the size of the crocodiles in there are just something else. Never seen one. Like, saw some massive, this was before I went to Australia, but honestly, the crocodiles in there, like, you just thought it was, I didn't know what it was. I thought it was like a bit of a house.
Yeah.
It's just sitting on top. Because they've got to be massive to make over that dam.
Being the courageous, tough carp fisherman that I am, wouldn't have bothered me.
I've seen you handle pike, mate. You'd have been fine. You'd chinned it. Get out of here, lad. Yeah, so
wouldn't have bothered me.
Some amazing experiences, but as I said, a running theme from the start is just very lucky. Very lucky. And I have to thank my parents for that, because as I said, there was a lot of extra hundreds of quids chucked here and there to be able to sort of live my dreams. But I just think I'm so glad I did, because you never know what's going to go on in life, do you? I couldn't do it now.
Like, yeah, that's it. I think I'm at the stage now where when I was younger, it was always all about just fishing and carp fishing and fishing. And I never had that, even to go carp fishing in France or anything like that. I just never really did until 5-6 years ago when we started going over the tunnel. But now I'm at the point where I go, I should steal a trip once a year and go do something mental. Like, I know I've mentioned on it before, me and Al were meant to go big cod and halibut fishing up in Norway, and we spoke about going GT fishing and that sort of thing. And it's only now, but
get it done.
I think you're right in doing it. Well, like you say, very lucky to be able to have done all of that. When
definitely, I think it depends what you're fishing for. I think GT fishing's come on an awful lot. Like when there was hardly any sort of, like, you see these big offshore popper fishing. That wasn't really there. You were fishing just real shallow running rapalas, and it was as good as a surface lure, but it wasn't quite that scene. Do you know what I mean? And also, I mean, I've got images, but we didn't have you guys go there with cameras and get some mega footage of that, because it's just amazing. Do you know what I mean?
I'd just be on the rods, mate. I wouldn't be filming anything.
Well, get somebody else to film.
Yeah, exactly.
Mate. But no, I definitely think in certain regards things have come on, like, and in certain things I'm very lucky to have had it at that point. And if I went back now, it wouldn't be the same. Probably the only thing really that I haven't done is like America way. So like tarpon are on my bucket list, and like the Lawrence River carp and sturgeon, etc. Like Fraser and like they're the only ones probably that I've got left to drag the missus along to. Hopefully one day should do.
Yeah.
So coming back a little bit as well. So away from fishing, when you're at uni at this point, then what are your aspirations? Because did you know the industry you wanted to get into? Obviously, your degree wasn't related to what you've ended up doing now. Well, how were you when you were at uni? What was the dream in terms of a career? Did you want to be a professional tennis player? Was that ever?
Yeah. Don't get me wrong. Like, it was never going to happen. I knew that. I'm like 5 foot something, but I loved playing tennis. I had a passion for playing tennis, but it wasn't the same level of passion as fishing. It's almost like a passion because you're good at something. So I played tennis from a very early age, from like, I dread to think how young, but very, very young. Me and my brother played. Dad, even now, still plays volleyball. So we always had that hand-eye sort of sport thing in the family. We're all sporty. So that was always our chosen sport. And I loved it. But I loved it, I think, because I was good at it, and you used to win loads of matches, you had loads of success. But the actual playing of tennis, I don't think I loved. And the more and more you played, for me, this is not for anybody else, the more and more you played, the less and less you liked it. Sounds very weird to say, but I almost followed. I just let it happen, and wherever I drifted. If you know what I mean, in terms of my degree, playing tennis and everything. I didn't have a plan, no plan, at all. I remember even to the day where like I got my degree. Or maybe I was only just doing it just to say I've got a degree, or I didn't even think it'd open doors later down the line or whatever. I really didn't know. But I thought, while I'm here and while this is going on, I'll just ride it out for as long as I can. And I did. And then I think I got to a point where I was looking at work. Tennis was tennis. An easy progression because of being involved in the tennis world is to go to coaching because you've got the contacts. So I thought, I'll start my own coaching business. I'll make a bit of money. Because money's important when you get to like 18, 19, 20, like 21, 22, and you finish your degree. You're starting to look at building some money back, paying back your student loan or whatever it may be. But also sort of establishing a career whereby you've got enough money to be self-sufficient. Like you've been out at uni, you don't want to come back and live with your parents again. You want to get yourself out there. So, yeah, I sort of thought, I've got loads of contacts in tennis because of what I've done, so let's use them. I know I'm not going to be able to play at a high enough level to make some money. Let's do it. So I started a coaching company. I had some I was lucky. I had some real good contacts with a couple of like key private schools, so they paid really well. So I got a few contracts there, and then I remember having a main head coach role at just like a golf pro at OB Tennis Club down in Leicester, so right next to the parents. Real good tennis club, lovely environment to sort of work in, but it never was. I don't know. It never was like, it was satisfying. That's really horrible to say, but it was never like truly what I thought that I would end up doing forever. Do you know what I mean? Yeah. There'd be times when, even when I was playing tennis, where like you'd be thinking about, right, I'm going to go bait up there, I want to fish that peg, or I want to put that rig on there, or that fish has come out, and that would be going through my head all the time.
And if that's going through your head, then you know.
You do, but I never knew. Do you know what I mean? I never thought that would be, I want to do that as a career, but it was always there. I was just really ignorant to it and just coasting, I think. So I fell into coaching, did all coach for a good sort of 3-4 years, was really like lucrative and successful, like very happy. But then I met Laura sort of throughout this whole period of time. I'm fishing bluebell, ringstead and various other waters that are like quite high profile, and catching decent fish and loving my like UK carp fishing. Some great times on syndicate, so many stories, and like so lucky to have caught a lot of good fish. And then met Laura, and then life changed because you meet the one, if you like. I knew that from day one. I met her in a super dry store in Leicester, mate. How cool am I?
Smooth.
I was like, no, this is how smooth I am, right?
Go on, what was your opening line?
No, this is smooth. So I've gone in to super dry in Leicester. I think I split up with a girlfriend like not that long ago. So you know what you like nothing
Bounce
serious. Yeah, nothing serious. Just relax. Yeah. I've gone into super dry and somebody's just yelling Hassan at the top of their voice in the shopping centre in Leicester, the Shires, and I'm thinking, who is this? Someone is either gonna do me over, or it's just a nutter. And it's one of I used to coach at Leicester Grammar School, right, tennis, and it's the lady PE staff, Nikki, her name was, who I used to do the girls like tennis, and she used to be in the session with me. So she's recognised me. She's gone, Hassan. And I've gone, all right, I didn't really know her. Like, so I'm like, I'd seen her at school when I was coaching. I had like professional face on. So I'm like, oh, right, how are you? Started having this really awkward conversation. And then this girl has tagged on with her, subsequently my future wife. And I thought, she's all right. This one, maybe not. No offence, Nicky, you're a lovely person. But I thought she is lovely, but not my type. And I knew she was in a relationship, so obviously, you know what I mean, an honourable gentleman. I thought, your mate's all right though. But I thought, how am I going to swing this? Because I don't really know you well enough to say, go away.
Yeah.
And I definitely don't know her.
Yeah.
So I've gone like, I think I've said something absolutely cheesy. Like, she's not said a word, Laura. She's just stayed in the background really quiet. We're having this awkward conversation pretending that we're mates. Because I don't know her, it's just professional. And I've gone like, oh, you're all right. Like, what you doing up here? You just visiting your boyfriend or something? Something tragic like that.
That is
She's gone,
absolutely horrendous,
she's
mate.
gone, no, I haven't got a boyfriend. And I was just like, right, brilliant. So I dropped her like text. I was like to Nikki, oh, like, yeah, give me your mate's number. Like after this, I dropped her, and she was like, yeah, she gave me his number. Text her and went like, should we go? Do you want to go for dinner or something? Like, she was like, yeah, I'll go for dinner, but I live in Manchester. And I was like, that.
Wait a minute. You said this was smooth. That's
Smooth, mate. I've got her number without having to ask for a number in a store, in a public environment with a crazy woman shouting at me.
Well, creep.
Smooth. So,
give us her number.
Yeah.
I'll text her.
I mean, it weren't a voice
I
note.
thought she worked there. I thought
No, mate. No, so she's in Manchester. So I went up. The rest is history. We got married. But anyway, for me, that was like a sort of a turnaround moment where you sort of think, right, well, life's got a bit more serious here now. I could see like a bit of a future. I want to put some like roots down. I also wanted to commit carp fishing suicide by moving up to Manchester, where like 20-pounders are like massive fish. I've just fished like ringstead. I've fished bluebell where you'd slip into on his back because you're waiting for 40s. And
you caught a whacker at bluebell, didn't you?
Yeah, like bluebell was mega, mate.
Yeah.
Like,
did you do a bit of campaign on there, or was it just like your weekend fishing?
No one will ever believe, but I was like, I used to be like a keep it reeler. You know, like, I don't want to shout names, but I used to catch on Kingy, and I used to keep everything like as stum as possible.
Yeah.
And you'll see on my Instagram, I've leaked various photos of like some of the big commons in there, but I've never spat the whole load. Yeah. And I used to be really like that. I don't know if it was because it was bluebell, but there was a certain faction of lads who would see what you catch, would take photos, but the sort of masses, I never wanted to put it out there. It's just like early days of like Facebook and Insta, and I didn't want people to know per se what you were doing. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I did really well on there on zigs. Like how weird. Like I went through one May. I remember really struggling. Gaz Dennis was on there. But all the guys that you see now, they're on there, were still on there. Jason Holden, all those boys were on there. I was very much like the young, and I remember fishing the lock bank, and I remember just seeing like colossal fish like in the edge. Used to go up a few trees or look behind the trees, and they used to be just in there. And like I remember flicking choddies at them, just literally they'd just sit there and look at it and just be like, nah, mate, I've seen that for 20 years. You're going to have to come better. Like, do you know what I mean? And then I remember one session in May, it was classic, like southwesterly wind. I'm on it. And I remember seeing them bosh, and I was fishing right in amongst them. And I was like, oh no, how can I not have a take? Like 5-6 hours, I'm doing my nutting. I'm like, it's not presented. I'm not, and I daredn't reel it in to rechuck it because I think they'll go. I daredn't put any bait out because I think they'll spook. Because I've seen it. I'd seen it before. I'd seen it where there was literally tons of fish like on the point. Somebody come in next door, drop the bivvy on the ground, and they just dispersed.
Yeah, it's the same to this day over there on King, isn't it? Like you cast on them, they're gone.
And I knew it. I'd been there. I'd blanked for long enough, and I'd struggled. I'd caught a few little uns stalking. There's a little swim just before you get to the lock bank where there's a little sort of, it goes on to bluebell the other side. There's a little sort of spit where they come in, and they come in real tight. And I caught a couple of small 20s on there, just with little bits of crumb and stalking. But in terms of out in the main lake, it was a nightmare. So I was like, I don't know what to do here. I'm not getting a bite. And I can't remember what article it was, but I remember vividly seeing the imagery from it of like a yellow zig tied up, quite cumbersome big bit of foam, but a big photo of it in the mag. And I thought, well, I'm not going to gain anything. I'm just going to blank again. And they're on me. Like something is wrong. 3 rods, reel one in, put this zig out. I dread to think what it would have looked like. And it's just absolutely melted within about 20 minutes. And I've gone, like, what in the world? Is that a carp? Is it? I didn't even know. Played it in, like, mid-30. I'm absolutely buzzing. Like, and I've gone. I remember leaving it in the net. I remember it splashing and thinking, So I've moved it round the bush and put it behind and then got the zig back out and thought, it could go again. It could go again. Got one of the lads who was with me, like, tattooed lad. What was his name? Jace. Was it Jace? Loads of arm tattoos. Like, first time I'd seen somebody, like, properly carpied up. Do you know what I mean? Yeah. He caught a few. He'd see me playing it. He'd come round, took the photos for me. And then I've literally gone to release it like that as subtly as I can to the side of this bush, and it's tanked off again, the same zig. So I don't know if it was at a time when zigs were just being used, or maybe it was me in my sort of naivety at that point. But I remember having a real good hit on zigs. I remember doing really, really well then in fishing like more subtle little traps on that lock bank in the edge. And apart from that, like that sort of revolutionised that big carp fishing, because it's a proper lake. It's not like it's not like a little, no disrespect, but it's not like a little syndicate in Leicester. These are proper fish. You're seeing people like who fished it for seasons and seasons and seasons, and they're struggling. So that gave me confidence from that point. And then from there, I sort of got a little bit disillusioned with the busyness of it. I remember like one summer it being absolutely mad, and there was two trips where I had a chance, and I knew I had a chance because I was in good swims. So like I was in the LPJ, or I was in Rats, or I was in the Point. The swims which you want to go in, you want to fish 70 yards out in the silt, and you know that's the right time of year, the right wind, and they come from there. I'm on them. And you'd have somebody either cast in your water, or you'd have somebody make some disturbance, and you just know on that lake that is your chance blown. Like, and with the time that I like overnighters or whatever, you don't really have the time to recoup it if that happens. So I got disillusioned with it. I remember thinking I quite like to go on somewhere nice and quiet, where you've got a bit more of you versus the fish, and have that sort of syndicate feel with mates. So I looked around and I saw Ringstead. I'd seen Ringstead written about with regards to Maddox and everybody else who used to be there. And Nigel had taken it over, and I went over there because it was a change of sort of atmosphere in a way. Because I did like the busyness, but I didn't like it when it jeopardised you catching. I'd flitted around on Swan, and Swan had beaten the life out of me. I just couldn't catch him on Swan. I could not catch on Swan. Like it was, I caught a couple of 20s and a 30. A 30 was with the missus, but I literally couldn't catch on there, mate. I don't know why, if it was the weed, my angling, it just didn't suit. So I went over to Ringstead and did real well on there. But it was, you know, when you've got those places that like you're onto a winner. Maggots was a winner. Like, not many people fished them. I fished them. I did well. I fished a fair bit of bait when you needed bait, but little traps, in the edge fishing a lot of it. Absolutely brilliant. Like, I loved it. And the lads that were on there, like, I'm still mates with them to this day. Justin Carter, like, people might know me, had a fall recently, bless him, and he's still angling, but he's now in a wheelchair. Top lads on there. Nige, the owner, absolutely brilliant. Simon Mottram, there's loads of lads that I could reel off. But the social scene, the whole, I don't know, what could you say? The whole atmosphere. It's what fishing is, isn't it? You'd rather go, I don't know, go and have that feeling and catch 15-pounders. Not that they were 15-pounders, and they're all 40s, 30s, etc. But that feeling is worth a lot, I think, in fishing. Yeah. So that was that, and then obviously this wholesale at this time move up north, where like your fish sizes are dramatically dropped, and at the time I then started doing a bit of work at Carpology.
How did that come about then?
Yeah, so it was a weird one. I remember doing like some writing pieces and submitting them to various like companies, because as I said, like Bluebell and stuff, I didn't share a lot. I don't know if that was the atmosphere.
That doesn't really fit from what you were saying.
I was trying to be a keep it realer. You know when you see lads, so like Stephen Cook and like the Leicester boys that used to know, never used to publicise anything. You have to be in the. Do you know what I mean?
In the know
tonight. And I think that was. I don't know if it was that or just the atmosphere, because I was very different at Ringstead. So I don't know if it's just the atmosphere, but I was trying to keep it stum because I had something going. And so I submitted stuff to various people. Total Carp, Crafty Carper, that was going. Carpology. And they took it and they were like, yeah, we'll use some of this. Brilliant. So like, used to write a few bits, like short pieces, top 10 tips. I did a predation piece and whatever. And it was just about the time when there was that switch from Carpology to sort of digital. Right. So print was sort of waning, so to speak, and the digital sort of video stuff had come into play. And Joe and Rob, massive thanks to them for obviously giving me a chance. They realised that in order to stay at the top and sort of have longevity, there needs to be some digital content.
What are we talking here? 10 years?
Oh, it's a while ago, mate. I don't know. I couldn't give you the year, but a long time ago. They were really on it. I remember doing a video about a spom, the first spom. Like,
cool, yeah, we are a little while ago now.
it's a while ago, the first spom it was. And I remember they were like, do a 2-minute review. And I sat in like my house and just went like, yeah, it's got a clip mechanism. It deactivates, drops for the bait. It was very like cringe. It's probably still on YouTube somewhere. Don't cut that in. And
I'll find that.
And yeah, don't. And they were like, this is Brill. So we want you to do product videos. So what we'll do is we'll give you a load of product. You take it out. You do your little video on it. Do your little video review.
Yeah.
So I was like, Brill.
And sorry, so is this coming straight out of the tennis coaching at this point as well?
So I've sold the business.
Yeah.
I've sold the business. I'm moving up north. I thought about maybe trying to keep it and try and use the same business model up north, but I just didn't have the same contacts up north because I wasn't a northerner.
Yeah. So
I sold the tennis business, gave me a bit of money and a bit of sort of freedom for a period of time, and then went up north. This all came at the same time with regards to this digital filming
right,
stuff.
so it all just fell into place, really.
Like,
yeah.
Timing wise, mate,
Yeah.
you just couldn't write it.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's in the lap of the gods, isn't it, with regards to when these opportunities arise. So started doing these little bits of writing, these little bits of video, and more product came. And they were like, right, could you do this? Could you do this? Could you do this? And it got to the point where I was filming these product reviews like on my iPhone with like a little tripod, just waffling, cutting it, and they would put bumpers on the end of it. They're still on the old Carpology website. They're tragic.
Yeah.
But yeah, that would go. They'd do loads, and then they realised that digital was sort of the way forward. They took on Lewis Porter, who used to work here, and Lewis then, instead of me filming on my iPhone, we went out together and we did the product stuff with him filming.
So are you employed by them, or are you sort of
so freelance?
Yeah.
So they're paying me every time I did something or went out. Plus, also, as an absolute added bonus, if it was a product that you wanted, well, you could keep it if you want.
Happy days.
So, like, you're accumulating gear left, right, and centre. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah,
it was mad.
But your eBay account looked good. Got some positive feedback.
I used most of it, to be fair. Like, when I moved up, you know what it's like when you, I don't know, like, if you move house, you're going to do it soon, aren't you, mate? Like, you have a lot of stuff, and, like, you can't always take it all because of, like, cost, especially if you're going from Leicester to, like, Manchester way. So I accumulated like loads of gear, which is brilliant. And then also they were paying me like a freelance, whatever rate per writing, video, whatever I did. And then that same time, I was like, I need something to do in the day because I can't not be busy. Like, I just can't do it. And I didn't again know. So I sort of started teaching, but not teaching, like almost like a housemaster. So there was a couple of grammar schools. Like, again, I was a housemaster. So basically, I was just anything that came about that was like disciplinary as a rogue kid or something, I'd sort of chat to them. You just make sure that discipline was in order, and there was a house system in the school. So you did like house games or whatever else. Used to coach a bit of tennis as well, which was brilliant because you could do that on the side. So I was in that sort of education thing. And I moved around a few schools. I did some state school education stuff as well, which was brilliant. The same sort of pastoral stuff. But again, it just wasn't my passion. I loved talking to people. I loved young people sort of growing up and helping sort of influence and shape that and share experiences. But, you know, anything's like at that level. There's a lot of red tape. There's a lot of politics. I didn't want to be a teacher and do a PGCE. It was strange. So I got to a point where like I was like, right, I need to sort my life out here. So I went to Joe and said, look, at Carpology, I said, Joe, look, I want to do this as a career. I think about fishing 24/7, and I think every angler can empathise with this. Like, you could be doing anything, like, I don't know, whatever it is, but you will be thinking about fishing. Where you can fish, what rig to use, what's potentially going on, etc. And I was like, I need to make a career in this, Joe. What can I do? Like, can you offer me a full-time position, or do I need to start looking elsewhere or whatever? And Joe was like, look, Hassan, I've taken on Lewis. I'm happy with your sort of day rate. It may lead to a full-time position, but at the moment we're at early stages and I can't give you that. And I said, no, well, I appreciate your honesty, Joe. But then he said to me at the same time, he says, I don't know your circumstance, but if you need something now, there's this job going at Angling Direct, and it was social media manager. And he teed me up and said, look, apply for it.
Fair play, obviously.
Yeah, I'm like, so sound, mate. There's such like mega people, because realistically, I was like no one, just some bloke off the street that did a bit again, a load of trust in somebody doing digital stuff at the forefront of stuff and supplying them with a bit of writing. But I wasn't like contractually obliged to them for 10 years or something where they built up that trust.
Was Carpology the first time in front of a camera? Because I think naturally you're quite good in front of a camera. You're a natural presenter, a natural front man, if you like. Did they see that and just go, this guy's got a bit of a hidden talent there, or had you had experience in it?
No, I'd never done anything on camera, mate. I don't think.
Yeah.
No, never. I'd done like old school productions and stuff. Nothing like to the level of like where you're doing it as a job. So no, it's just always comfortable for me to. Still is. Like I don't really think the camera's there. I think as soon as you do that and you start planning and nightmare. But no, I never really did anything like that before, and then just started doing that. And obviously through years of fishing, and also through just general interest in fishing, you know enough information about product and other products and the industry as a whole, circumstances, etc., to be able to give enough information to make whatever it is that you are like talking about relevant. Do you know what I mean? Because everything needs a context at the time. So that sort of segued quite nicely into Angling Direct, and yeah, mate, the rest is history, so to speak. Right.
Yeah. So being at Angling Direct, I know we spoke about it already, but with the lives, with going out every week with so many different people, you must have had some real good times. Good fishing? What's your best moment?
Ridiculous. Like, so many. I think there's different aspects of angling. My best moment, he's not going to like me for this. I don't know if I can say.
Yes, you can.
Oh, it's harsh.
You can't tease us with it now.
Yeah, mate. I fished with like Bob Nudd, like legend. Yeah, match fishing legend. Yeah. I'm no legend in any aspect of the sport, but it's the first time I've not done what I've done on this podcast, which is just waffle aimlessly. I didn't say anything to camera. I was like, boys, you point that camera at me, you're dead. All right, you go and concentrate on Bob. I'm going to smash him up in this match. And we fished for like 3 hours. Bob, bless him, is like chilling. He's like, yeah, just put a few maggots out there on my float. I'm like, that, come on. I've got this, like that. And I've done him, mate. I've done him big. And he's even admitted it on there. He's gone like, oh, you've beat me this time. And I was like, yeah, I was on it, mate. Not a word to camera. Can you imagine that from me?
Well, so you just sent off your cameraman to distract him?
No, I didn't distract. No.
That was your tactic. Yeah. Distract him.
No,
and then you just...
I'm a principled man. Like, I would never distract him. He knew that we were there for a match.
Right.
He knew that we were fishing pegs side by side. He did not know the intensity that one man with bad hair and a big nose could bring. And he wasn't ready for that, mate. Yeah, mate, smashed at Bob Nerd. I'll take that forever. I've actually got a signed cap that they gave me at Angling Direct with Bob Nerd's signature on.
Did it? What else did it say?
Yeah, to Hassan.
Piss
off.
Yeah, you smashed me up, Bob.
No. In all fairness to Bob,
fuck off.
Bob. Yeah. I don't think Bob knew he was signing it for me. Yeah. In all fairness to Bob, I don't think he actually knew he was in a match until he realised that I just sent all
that doesn't count then.
Go and watch the content. He knew it was a match. I'm taking it as a victory, especially in match fishing, because it don't get much better, does it? No, that was good. Albeit very selfish reasons, but there's so many. I've had a brilliant day's pike fishing with Ed Matthews. Alf, we were talking about pike fishing because you got
that's my newfound passion in life,
the pike buzz. I'd done some pike fishing. I'd caught a few, but I think we caught nigh on like 30 plus pike in a day. It was just obscene.
That's more than I've caught in my life.
You're young though, mate. You've got time. You could do that this season. You could do that now.
Too right.
Exactly. I've seen you on Chigborough, mate. Force.
I don't mess about.
No, you don't. Making your own traces, mate.
Yeah.
Spinning them.
I wouldn't call that a trace. That was a...
How
God
true,
knows
mate.
what it was. But.
Yeah, so that, I think, obviously, like, going out with Matt Hayes and Mick Brown, like...
Big, yeah.
Then we did pike fishing then, but they are, like, childhood idols. The amount of great rod races and total fishing, and
I've been to a lot of carp shows now, and no one like seeing anyone. You see loads of people on YouTube and even on the telly and that sort of thing. I saw Tell walk by and I was like, God, that's fucking terrible. But didn't really do. I saw Matt Hayes, mate. My knees went weak.
Yeah,
I was like, and Mick was there. I was like, it's the Duke.
He's here, mate. Legend.
We have to get him on this.
My childhood of watching fishing, the Greater Rod Race and the Great Rod Race, and all the wet nets and everything they did, Discovery Shed or Discovery Quest, whatever it was. When I actually look back now and think how much of my time, I reckon I could recite the episode. Don't need subtitles. I'll do them for you.
Honestly, like, yeah. I mean, I didn't. It's wrong for me to say that I got nervous because I don't really get nervous in that regard. But there was definitely like a lot more intrigue in how they would be, because you see them, don't you, on camera, and you think, like, is this a bit of an act, or like, do you know what I mean? How is it? They're literally exactly the same. Yeah. And what I didn't understand, again, you'd appreciate this with your piking passion, is Mick Brown has caught so many massive pike on such limited time. He is the Terry Hearn of pike fishing. Like, it's ridiculous. Like, I knew he was a top quality pike angler, but I never knew the full story about him, the situation he was in, what he caught against what he was facing with regards to his private life, etc. Do you know what I mean? Like, unbelievable.
On the subject of Mick Brown, this takes me back. I think you know this, Dan. Because I was huge fans back then, and this is when I was interested in pike fishing as well. And I remember Mick Brown had brought out a new book, pike, whatever it was, and it was the basics. And this is talking years ago, 10, 11 years ago. And massive fan, like I said. And I remember he created his own website to sell the book.
Right.
And it was you can leave a message, and you can get to sign a message in the thing. So obviously I've paid through PayPal, and at the time my mum's name was registered to it as well. So I've gone like, oh, can I get this for my birthday, mum? Brilliant. And I've wrote the note, oh, can you sign it? And I remember it's coming, and it just says, to Deborah, this. Kind regards, because obviously it was registered to the PayPal name on the receipt. And I remember I was distraught. Like, there's me, my birthday present's come, or whatever it is, and it just says on it, to Deborah. And I think he even wrote on the receipt as well, thanks for the kind words, because I think I put something like, oh, you're my hero. And he's gone, oh, thanks for the kind words, Deborah. And I'm just like, yeah.
His number.
Yeah. And so do you know where that is now? It's in the shitter on one of those reader. No, I could never talk bad of a Duke like that. But no, I've still got it. And then in the front page, it's to Deborah. Yeah.
Might be your rogue sort of second personality on the weekends. Roll out Deborah.
Yeah, it's not really
yeah, mate, what a legend. There's so many good memories though, like for different sort of reasons, really. Because you're doing different types of angling, and you're dealing with different personalities. So many crazy days. Like Rob Hughes, the amount of information that man has got, like my brain hurt after that day. Like, I was like, Rob, we need to like just come back a bit here and just simplify it. Like, I need the idiot's guide. Do you know what I mean? It's too much for me. I can't deal with that. But the amount of information, unbelievable. Blair, oh my God. What? I never in my wildest dreams thought I'd meet somebody who has more passion for angling than myself. And he's got like treble, like, honestly, I went to Clearwater with him. Oh my God, mate, I couldn't keep up with him. He was everywhere, mate. Just stop moving out.
Try filming him.
Honestly, mate, he did do me over though. I'll have Al for this. Al, we fished the easiest lake on Clearwater, which is a Nash Bait sponsored venue up north. Really good fishery. Big love to Mikey, Alex, and the boys up there. Adam, Paul. I've got to name them all, otherwise I'll go up there and they'll lynch me, mate. It's what the North's like, rough. So top fishery, and they got a main syndicate lake, which I was a member of. But me and Alan came down. Al came down to meet me. He was like, I'm going to fish it. We've got 24 hours. We'll do whatever. So I was like, right, we'll go on this lake, because I've caught a few on this lake. It's easy. It's a high stock. It's quite deep. It's high stock. I've took this solid bag out like that. Like, gone, yeah, I've caught them from here and like in winter. This is winter. It's cold. And you're up north, so it's like double cold. I chucked this bag out, and I've gone, right, yeah, sit back, put that one in, I'll tie up another bag and get another one out. Yeah, that's what happened. And all of a sudden, I just see this splosh, like literally over the top of my rod. I've gone, hold on a minute, like that. I've had a look, and I've like, oh, is that you? He's like, yeah. He just put a zig straight over my bag. As the rod has settled, that zig's melted off. And I'm like, so anyway,
I would say that surprises
me. It's Al, so I've gone like, like, mega, mate, well done.
Well done.
Yeah,
good
God,
work.
Top angling. He's come in, he's played it in, it's a lovely common. he's had a photo. He's told me to take it on his camera. He didn't put a memory card in, so that's karma, isn't it?
It's normal for Alan.
But that is karma for poaching me up
Yeah.
with a zig on. But
Yeah.
good angling from him. So he caught that one, and then we went to another lake on the complex. In the middle of this, he'd been walking round, baiting up other parts, every part of the lake. I don't think there was a clear spot without any bait on it. Went to another lake, plopped some zigs out, caught another one. Photographed somebody on the main syndicate lake, Ben Hesketh, who caught a mega fish in a boat battle. That was quality. Chatted with Alex, the owner, who lost a real big fish on a zig. Sorry, Alex, I've had to bring that up. Then we went on another lake for the evening. He set up like in the corner, bish bosh bash. I'm still trying to get some bait out. It's absolute madness. In the morning, where is he? He's here there. Oh, he did not stand still for the whole time.
Yeah.
Caught two, and I'm like, I'm going to blanket. I'm going to look like an absolute numpty. He's cast over me and had one. He's cast in the back lake and he's had one. I'm on 0, 0, 0. And then thankfully some scaly thing took pity on me. And we had a bit of a non-broadcastable boat battle because he got stuck in some weed. To which point I've netted it and so relieved to have caught one and shattered. It's like a combination of the two.
Yeah.
And then him and the Clearwater boys have dared me to go. It's about £12 this fish. It's £12 like a linear, right? And they've dared me to go in the water. This is like end of November time. I've got no waders on here. I've just got like some salopettes on. Go in the water and have a water shot with the fish, right? And I've gone like, it's going to be freezing in there. Like, just been out in the boats and it's like, I'll have a normal photo. And then they've gone, oh, go on, like that. Go on. Oh, go on, mate, it's mega, like that. I've got in, haven't I? I've lost my absolute head and I've got in. It is absolutely freezing. And I've just got salopettes on. I've taken a couple of stills and slipped the thing back, got up, and they're all just like, you're an idiot. You're an absolute idiot. And I'm like, yes, I am.
How did you fall for that? Well,
peer pressure's just
I was like, it's Alan Blair.
Alan's here.
Alan, get in. Alan, get it. I'm getting in. I don't know if it was delirium, tiredness, pure relief, peer pressure. I'll have it all. Like
good photo though, or was
quality photo.
Remember the SD card this time?
No, it wasn't on Alan's camera. Ben Hesketh came down and did them.
Oh,
so yeah, good cameraman. So yeah, I had lovely photos of it. But I believe the poor fish died a couple of years later. So never got to relive its full potential. But it was a mega fish. But Blair, mate, like mad.
Yeah.
Oh, crazy. Claudia Darga, another one like just Claudia. Absolutely like. Again, I thought I was busy on like Instagram stories and stuff. Got nothing on Claudia. She's an absolute force.
Yeah.
Just so Steve Ringer. Oh my God, mate. That man can put a feeder on a dinner plate, don't know, in Stratford upon Avon from the south coast. It's just ridiculous seeing him chuck on a big natural venue. It's just a machine. And the prep is like, it's just obscene. But you
must have seen so much.
Oh,
and
mate.
Fish for so many people.
Would you say you learned a lot?
Yeah.
You pick things up on these trips, yeah.
A hell of a lot. I think the type of angling, whereas before a lot of my angling had been with the luxury of a bit more time, I think in recent times I've not had any of my own angling. So I've not had a venue to sort of pursue my own angling. I've got 2 young daughters, as I've said, so most of my time is with them when I'm not working. And when I am working, it's sort of work fishing. So I've got the day. Occasionally I have an overnight if it's a particularly long drive, but normally the volume of work, angling direct and sort of your role, you can't really have like 2. If you did 4 nights a month, you would really struggle with the volume of work you've got to get through, because you just can't effectively do that work from the bank. If it was like editing or something, you can do that, but you're having to directly sort of communicate with people. You have to, because I work remotely, you have to be able to communicate with Central as well as communicate with suppliers, and you just cannot do that effectively from the bank. It's not always signal, it's windy, it's just, you know what I mean? So that type of fishing where you've got, I've got 9 hours, you've got to catch one, is very difficult in itself, because you've got to stay in one place when there's filming going on. You've got to do a live from a spot where there's signal. But also you see just the sort of best bits of each angler, and you can put that into your own fishing. Like the organisation, like I was always pretty ad hoc, mate. Just chuck everything in the van and I'll spend maybe 10 minutes tying a rig or whatever for the situation. Well, you go out with anyone like that has got a limited day session, like one of those match boys who's going to fish for 5 hours. They've got everything prepped, and they're just maximising time in the water. You take that into carp fishing, you might get there at 7 a.m, especially this time of year. You might have a 10-minute bite window in the day, and if you're tying a rig in that 10 minutes, you're not going to catch one. So that you learn so much about sort of watercraft, but with regards to different situations, different times of year, because you're just fishing in such a concentrated short period of time with the very best at what they do in the game. Do you know what I mean? Like, it's incredible, like seeing how efficient some anglers are, but also just how knowledgeable they are as well. It's I'm so lucky. That's definitely enriched my angling more than if I fished on my own for, I don't know, 3 or 4 years consistently, because those, you know what I mean? It's what makes them them. It's what makes them successful. Yeah. Work rate, watercraft, rigs, and technical as well. I'm still not that technical, but I've settled with rigs that I am happy with, that I know that work. Whereas before I might have chopped and changed a bit more. Do you know what I mean? So many good anglers, so many different disciplines, and it's added to, like, I'd never caught a grayling on the float before. Done that. So many like bucket list fish, like Trent barbelling. Never done that. Like, I probably never would have done that. Maybe. Do you know what I mean? So, yeah, like, I've got a lot to be thankful for in that time. But it's definitely, enriched my angling.
Did anything really mental ever happen on, like, live?
Oh, mate, there's a lot of stuff that I probably can't say
really?
Due to just being sacked. But mental. Where can I go with mental? Right, so you've obviously got the usual sort of crazy, strange people messaging, following you down to lakes, meeting you at service stations.
No.
Oh, mate, like remember when Brexit kicked off?
Yeah.
So Brexit was kicking off, and there was a chap that was talking about Brexit on the live stream. He said something like, well, yeah, something about Brexit. Anyway, ignored it, went through, blah, 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 blah. Anyway, I put on the story something like, oh, that's it for the day. Had a brilliant day. Off back home, apart from maybe I'll stop off at the services and get a coffee at Blythe or something, because it was a joke that I always stopped off at. Got to Blythe, it's like 2 a.m, mate. He's there.
No.
He's like, all right, Hassan. I'm like, all right, mate. I love it. I love meeting people. Yeah. I love talking to people. And he was like, I was like, oh yeah, brilliant, mate. I didn't know who. I couldn't see his Facebook profile picture, so I didn't know who was. I was like, all right, mate, how are you? And he was like, yeah, just watch Love. I was like, oh, mate, thank you so much. And I will talk to anybody any time of the day, as my missus and kids will bear testament to, if they bother to message me, because it's the right thing to do. But 2 a.m, I'm shattered, and he's talking, and he starts talking about Brexit.
And did that click then? Like, oh
no, this I don't know anything about Brexit.
Yeah,
like, I'm politically very poorly educated. So yeah, it's I was locked in that conversation, and I was like, no, this is not the one. Like, lovely bloke. I parted when I said, hopefully I'll see you in the bank sometime. Hope all's good. And that was that. But there's been so many crazy, like, November time. Our marketing manager Ollie Harper. So, like, all the lives, right? I go on my own. No one comes out. No cameraman. No, definitely no marketing manager. Absolutely no one. There he is, little boy, just slogging his way up and down the country with his little iPhone, filming his lives. Claudia Darga comes to town. Everybody out. Everybody out, man. Absolutely everybody.
Skills.
I was livid. I was like, mate, are you taking the actual mickey here? I have literally never had anybody on a live. Never.
Yeah.
Claudia's here. There's 12 people. I'm not joking.
So what happens when a celeb comes out, mate?
Mate, I was like, you might get me off here.
Yeah.
So 12 of them out there, right? And I thought, I'm going to make you work for it today, right? Because there's 12 of you. So I just went like, yeah, you can, like, move some of my gear over there, move the gear over there, get it set up.
You
right?
make me a cup of tea.
Yeah, go on. Do so. I was just livid. I was never. Middle of the live, right? So middle of the live, I've just looked and I just see our marketing manager running. And I thought, you don't run, do you? What's gone on here?
You don't run.
I'm waiting for, like, something. I'm trying to, obviously it's a busy live, it's Claudia. There's loads of strange requests and questions.
Yeah.
And I'm trying to screen through them, and I've just seen a grown man run. And when I mean run, there's like levels of scream, isn't there? There's like death, like below death. We're on like full death here.
Yeah.
He's off.
He's postman being chased by a dog run.
Yeah. Oh, what is kicking off here? So I'm like waffling, going, I'm trying to look. The next thing I see is a man in the middle of December, stripped down to his pants on the far bank, and I thought,
No.
Claudia's only just met us, right? And I'm thinking, oh my God.
So I didn't know you went.
Yeah. He stripped down to his
Hang on,
pants,
get
and I
to it.
thought, what is coming up here? He's then got in the water. By the way, he's rocking some 1980s, like old school holy grey Y-fronts, which I will never etch out my brain.
No, my dad's.
Good pair, mate. He slipped in the water, mate, in December, right? Past danger levels, if you know what I'm saying. And he's got round the back of these this reed bed, and he started pulling on his line. I thought, oh, he's clearly a fish. He's had a take, and the fish has gone round, hasn't it?
I thought I had the wrong end of the stick there.
No, mate, he's not pulling anything else.
I had the wrong end of the stick.
Dirty mind.
Yeah.
He had the right end of the stick, thankfully. And he's basically he's had a take, and a fish is locked in behind a reed bed.
Yeah.
Good fish care. He's gone in and he's freed the fish, taken a net with him, and he's scooped it up. And then he's proceeded to cut the line, to sort of leave the fish in the edge and walk round back into like my full eye line on a live with just a quarter hand towel to cover his decency in front of Claudia. And I'm like, how are we meant to keep this like together? I've just burst out laughing and gone, I'm sorry, like, but you need to see it. And I flipped it round on like just so everybody could see him, and he's like, "Oh no, like my missus will see this or whatever." And
How
I've gone,
far
like,
away is he?
Oh mate, he's not far away, but
really?
where he's fishing, he's fished across to the far bank because no swims on the far bank. So the fish is obviously taken, kited, and it's got locked behind this. So he's had to go round the far bank, and he's just comes. And I was like, "Why would you come in the swim with just your pants on? Like, go and sort yourself out, not that way, but sort yourself out somewhere else, like, and come back." Like, absolutely crazy, mate.
And it did, so Ollie had run out of fear.
Like, he'd run out of a take. So he had a take, but we didn't hear the take. He's had his receiver on, like, vibrating in his pocket, and he's just started legging it.
I thought you meant he'd just seen this crazy old half-naked man. He's just left you there.
He's gone, mate, to his rod.
He's
gone to his rod, like, and he's done the right thing by getting the fish out, but then he's proceeded to just lord it round the swim while we're trying to do a live, like, in his pants. Just incredible scenes. Like, it was a great laugh. There's been so many, like, gunshots, mate. They've been a good one. Like, we were fishing Maver Hayfield Lake, and I love the Hayfield crew. Noley. We were doing a live. I think it was Emma Pickering, one of the Maver anglers, and we were just talking, as you would do, normal live, and all of a sudden, like, literally the field behind us, there's like a full fox gun gone off, mate.
Really?
We just got like that. Literally both pooped ourselves, and like we didn't know what it was. I ain't got a clue. And then like we all settled down, didn't swear, which is like the main thing, like investors watching and all that.
Yeah.
And then like 10 minutes later, it's gone off again. Just somebody like murdering random bits in the field behind us. Oh no! There's loads of crazy stuff. Belgium was pretty crazy with Geo.
Yeah, you've been to some really
like
places,
so lucky. Shark fishing.
Yeah.
That was Lou Porter's introduction.
Yeah.
That was the longest day because we're just numpties. I was like,
You didn't drive down on their day, did you?
yeah, mate.
What, Penzance?
We drove down to Foy because I go every year. Like family, we went down to Foy, which is like Penzance is further along. Foy's like closer. So we get the same boat. Dan Gummo, look him up, absolute legend. The same boat from Foy town centre. It's a lovely town, Foy. You can stay up there with the family, missus and all that. I go out. Got down there and I said, like, we'll book with Dan. It's not as far across to get to Penzance. And Stu, our northern area manager, was like, I'll come. And then and then James, James is a legend. You'd have seen James on The Apprentice, right?
Yeah.
Top bloke, James. He now owns a set of lakes. He loves his fishing, but he was like, oh, come along. Sharks, yeah. So I was like, okay, well, we'll do this then. What we'll do is Stu will come to mine because Stu lives near me. I'll drive down. We'll pick up James on the way. We'll meet Lou down in Foy, fish for 8 hours, and we'll drive back. What could go wrong? Yeah? Do the thing. James decides that today's the day to showbiz, isn't he, mate? When you've made it to his level, he's like, I'm at Mrs. House. And I was like, all right, which one? Like that. But he's not. But he's at his Mrs. House, genuinely. So we've gone to pick him up from Mrs. House, which is like a 2-hour detour away from where we're going.
Oh.
And we've cut back down. We've got to Foy at ridiculous o'clock in the morning. Porter's first day on the job. And I've gone, did you get seasick, mate? And he was like, I don't think so. You've been out on a boat. And I was like,
I can just see him saying it as well. Just like,
Don't
don't know.
No. all this camera gear, you know, it's like big turtle backpack, looks like Dora the Explorer.
Yeah.
Like, honestly, shocking. Looked like literally we're on some sort of day release. Anyway, we're going down. We get on the boat, say hello to Dan. We start steaming off. Get to mackerel fishing for some bait. You know what it's like, bobbing around a bit. Paul's going green orange. And I'm like to Stu, he's gonna go, mate. He's gonna go like that. And Stu's like, nah, it'll be all right, like that. And I was like, Stu goes, I've got some of these tablets. And I was like, what do you mean? Like seasick? I didn't know. Seasick tablets to stop you being sick. And I'm like, oh right, yeah. He goes, I'll give him. I was like, no. I see what he's like. See what he's like. Because I'm lucky I don't get seasick. Anyway, we got the mackerel in, and he didn't want a mackerel fish. He was trying to film it all, which I think made it worse.
Yeah, looking for an
eyepiece. Through like an eyepiece.
Yeah.
So he's filming everything. He's being as conscientious as ever, banging. And all of a sudden, mate, you just see him go, drop this big DSLR on the desk. And it's like, you know what it's like on a boat. They're floating desks, aren't they? They move around. So I've gone, oh, God. And he's literally chumming the water out the side of the boat. And like everyone's giving it a bit of a laugh.
First day as well. I didn't know that.
But this is at the time where he's on like some health kick as well. Like he's lost loads of weight, and he's done brilliantly. But he was like, I've not had any breakfast. So he was sick a little bit, but then he had nothing. So it was like painful. And I was like, you need to get him those tablets like that. So
don't act the mate now.
No.
Don't act the mate.
I was like, we've gone past the point of like, I've crossed the line here. Yeah. So I gave him some of those tablets, and he was absolutely spot on for the rest of the trip. But we fished for like 9-10 hours, caught some sharks, which was absolutely brilliant. And then we got back, and like, if anyone's ever come off like a day's filming, but like 7-hour drive and like blasted by the sun on a boat, you just feel like you've been in like some sort of torture. Your ears are ringing, you're bobbing up and down. And we were like, we need to get some food. So we got a burger. We all sat there and thought, got to drive back. That's like 7 hours. It's going to be like a 34-hour day. And I've driven all the way down.
There's no such thing as that.
No, exactly. But you know what I'm saying? I've driven all the way down. And I'm like, let's share the driving on the way back up. I've started driving, and literally James has had the full back bed sleep gone. You could do anything. Drive a hook through his mouth, he wouldn't wake up. Stu has tried to, like a soldier, has tried to hold it together. He's like, and you know, someone's just waffling rubbish. It's just the pink pop up like that, and you're like, what? You're like, right, Stu, mate, you just go to sleep. I'll put some music on in the window down. So I started driving, and literally, mate, I stopped for a wee. I don't know where. Dropped James back to this postcode he'd given me, which is his missus' house, and then drove Stu back up. And the only point at which I said, Stu, you've got to take over, was like the last half an hour of the drive.
Yeah.
Because I was like, mate, I can't actually do this. Like, like everything's moving. I'm still on the boat. It's probably not right by now.
Yeah.
He took over and got us back, mate. But that, as a day, just like, even then I thought, I love fishing, but
fancy doing it in a day, eh? Like, I would have made a holiday of it, mate.
Yeah, brutal.
That much work. We just had to, mate. Work is work, mate. You got to get it done, haven't you?
Yeah.
So many good times.
Because we went to was it Newquay or Torquay? I always forget what one's furthest.
Newquay.
Sorry, tourist. But that I remember coming back from there, and that was 5 hours.
Yeah.
I remember stopping twice just to get some Monster Energy, because again, I don't usually drink caffeine, and that was killing me, absolutely killing me.
The long old drives, I've done.
But I couldn't do it back there and back in it, especially from up north. Yeah,
proper, mate.
Yeah, I couldn't do that. Yeah,
you got to level up, mate. It was worth it. It was good. It was a real good day's fishing, to be fair. And a story, innit? Probably wouldn't do that again now, though.
Yeah, no. If someone said to you, got to do that again now, lesson learnt.
Maybe not. Depends.
So some amazing times at Angling Direct.
Yeah, mate. Yeah, like very lucky. Again, mate. Again, it's luck. I think it does come down to that. It's timing and luck, as I said before. That and a few other things in terms of my mindset. I lost a very good mate at a very young age. He was 32. Just didn't wake up one morning, mate.
Jesus, really.
And I think that sort of really, that and the birth of your kids for me are the two moments where, like, I've sat back and thought, like, you face your mortality, don't you? I remember, this is completely off topic and I've gone into like waffle, so I apologise, listeners, you're probably bored stiff. That's probably my mum watching, so it's all right. I remember Kev, my best mate, dying at 30. So he didn't wake up. I got a call from his girlfriend. Kev's not woke up. He's passed away. And I remember thinking, sugar, like, I couldn't contemplate it. Didn't know what to do. Went mental for a period of time. You know, as you do, you lose your way. Like, but I remember refocusing after that and thinking, well, I'm going to die here. I'm going to die. Like, you live your life before that. Yeah. Not even the remote possibility of thinking about that. Didn't even come into it. Yeah. And you think, right, this is all going to be over. So I need to sort my life out and do what it is that I want to do and what makes me happy and follow my passion. And I think that was massively driving. And then the birth of your kids, like, you can't, and you boys have got it to come, mate, but you can't, everybody tells you, it's a life changer. Yeah. And like, it's beyond that, mate.
You can't put it into words.
I'm not, as you can tell, I'm not an anxious person. I'm not somebody who suffers in like social situations. But when our first kid was born, and I would never forget it, one of the first nights she was home, she'd been in hospital for a period of time, might have been a few months down the line, I remember waking up and just having a panic attack thinking I was going to die. And I'd never have a panic attack before in my life.
Jesus.
And I thought, this is it. I'm going to die with a newborn child, my missus, I'm in the bed, and the newborn child's next to me. Because for the first time, I think, ever, there was something that is totally dependent on you. And then you get a mortgage, you do your life insurance, it's an option. You like that, yeah, it's there. But you never. But then you sort of face that mortality, and you face that stark truth that you're on borrowed time, like, and you never know, and somebody else is dependent on you, and that really. And this was in the first year of Angling Direct. From there, I just went, right, I'm going to smash this because I don't know when it's going to end. I need to do as much as I can do what I want to do, but also, I don't know, benefit something as a whole, which is why I got probably the social corporate responsibility title, because I don't think that I will ever be in a position, hopefully maybe one day, lottery room would be nice, to be able to set up something to give back properly to fishing, or to share what has become my life with other people. So I wanted to do that through Angling Direct, which was, we had coaching programs and all sorts of stuff to engage more people in angling, which I'm passionate about. I'm an Angling Trust ambassador because of that. So that sort of stuff all came on the back of two very significant events. And obviously, subsequently, I've had another child, which only amplifies all that without the panic attacks, thank God. But that really sort of made me smash whatever I could smash at AD, because essentially, it's one of those. It's a very morbid way of thinking about it, but you just never know. It's madness, absolute madness.
What was the real motivation? I know that's obviously the motivation, but what did you really want to achieve? What did you really want to do? Was it make more money? Was it be happy?
It's never money, mate. It's never money. If it was money, I'd probably still be tennis coaching. It's never money with me. I want to be comfortable. I want to provide enough of a good life for my family. We do that. We got a house, you know what I mean? All the stuff that you need to do. I think for me, motivation-wise, I want to share my love and passion for fishing with people that might not necessarily have accessed it before. I think of myself being very fortunate. If it wasn't for my madness at the early years, I probably would never have done it. Do you know what I mean? And I'd have missed out on this. I think a massive motivation for me now professionally is to work hard, do the best I can, and put my stamp on whatever it is that I do. So I love communicating with people. I love sharing stories. I love learning about people, what motivates them. I love all that in the context of fishing. Yeah, and I love fishing wholeheartedly. And probably the most sort of focal point is to be the best dad that I can be, because when I'm gone, I want to leave two very decent human beings in my place, and I hope they will be. Yeah. But yeah, I think they're my main motivating factors. It's never been money, like it just never has, because you know, if you wanted money, you wouldn't be working in fishing. Like you just wouldn't. Yeah. But they're the things to do good, to people to look back and say, yeah, he was a decent lad. He wasn't an idiot. He didn't have an ego about anything, and he loved fishing. And then, as I said, the sort of parent thing, which I think everybody wants if they're a parent, don't they?
Yeah, absolutely.
Very
Not that I could tell, but
Yeah.
I'm assuming
Well, mate, you've got that to come, mate. I look forward to
maybe one day.
to
Dan and
mini
children.
omens, mate. Should I cut that?
If the missus is listening.
So, yeah, you're in,
Rudy.
mate.
Yeah.
You're in, mate. You've got a house, haven't you?
Yeah.
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 Puppy yet? Puppy yet?
She's got puppies, yeah, but not mine. No.
It's
No,
coming,
no,
mate. It's on the cards. No, it's a very, very positive
Yeah,
way
it's good.
to look at things. And yeah, it's exciting. And if you can live your life, utmost respect.
Yeah, and that's what I said. I've been lucky, like, before because of timing, because of when things have fell. Like, a lot of people, and I speak to a lot of them, I am overly positive because I don't really, I don't know, it's horrible to say, but I don't really fear not succeeding. I think a lot of people focus on, like, sometimes that I speak to, and this is mates and other people that spoke to me, they focus on maybe it not going well. But I think genuinely, if you're positive enough, you can make it happen. But I do know that there are occasions in life, things get in the way, and it might take a longer period of time, a more difficult route. But I genuinely feel that if you concentrate on that positive outcome and not focus on what could go wrong, it's an old tennis adage, mate. Like, so many people in tennis will think about mistakes and they'll play really cautious tennis and they'll keep the ball in court and they'll be really nervy and really tight and they never go out there and sort of express their full potential. Well, you're going to miss in tennis. Nobody has ever got on a tennis court and not missed. So if you're going to miss trying to do something.
Yeah.
Don't miss being really conservative. And so it's the same adage with life for me. I'm going to miss. I'm going to mess up. I'm going to make mistakes. And those mistakes hopefully won't be the detriment of my family and my lifestyle and the things that I hold dear to me. But I accept that I'm going to make mistakes and I'd rather make them in a positive way.
Mm. Speaking of mistakes, what have you gone and done?
We're on mistakes now. I don't think it's a mistake, mate. Although this podcast, the viewing figures may reveal differently. I've taken a job at Nash, haven't I?
Hey!
Come on.
So if anyone, I'm sure this would come out a few weeks after, but it's
sure.
actually your first day at Nash Tackle today. You've left AD and you've come to join
Day one,
The
mate.
fun bus.
Nash
The party
Tackle.
wagon.
The party wagon.
Choo choo.
You'll be sticking foam on walls in no time.
Well, I can't wait to be paid. I just thought that on your Instagram story the other week. The most expensive painting and decorating team in the world.
Yeah,
You timed it right.
paid in
Done that
boilies,
now.
mate.
Yeah, no, I've got away with that. But I'm no good
Yeah.
at painting.
So welcome, not only to the podcast, but to
Life
What-
at Nash.
joining the family, mate.
What do I have to say? Big love, bruv, geez, bro.
I saw a few comments
Some-
on your thing going, oh, you've got to listen to drum and bass now. Start saying, bruv. I was like,
Do you listen to drum and bass?
I like James Blunt, mate.
Yeah, mate. Nothing wrong with James Blunt, mate.
Nothing.
Give me a
Oh,
bit
I've-
of Mozart in the
Yeah.
evening.
Mozart?
No, I just made
There's
that up.
two people under this roof who like drum and bass. That's Alan and Ollie. And now apparently we're all chavs who love drum and bass. Give me Passenger.
Surely Henry listens to a bit of drum and bass.
Henry?
No?
No. What does Henry listen
He's like-
to?
That Just Eat Snoop Dogg advert. He keeps playing that.
Oh, it does,
Did
yeah.
somebody say Just Eat?
Really?
Whatever Snoop Dogg said.
Wow, characters.
That's yeah.
What about
yeah.
Foreman? Foreman spent a lot of time with Al when I've seen him. No?
Yeah, he's not. I think he's probably been weaned off it. He's like,
Is
I
he?
fucking hate this now.
That's too much, mate.
Yeah.
That, I can't do. If you hear me listening to drum and bass religiously, something's gone wrong, mate.
yeah.
Send me back in the post. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
No, that's definitely. And bruv and geese. I think I have said bro before. So this is a disclaimer.
Nutter.
So bro's all right. Bruv never. Because I
Mm.
don't think that's a very northern word you could sort of pull off. Do you know what I
Mucker.
mean?
Hey up, mucker.
Do you know what someone called me the first time I went up north in a petrol station?
What?
Cock.
Hey up.
I was
Is
like,
it-
you having a
Isn't
laugh?
it cock? Is it cocker?
No, it's cock.
Hey up, cock.
She actually might have been calling me a cock. She just went, oh, have a good day, cock. And I was like,
You
what?
Yeah, to me, I would have said, "Are you trying to?"
oh, I
Mug me
brushed
off.
it off, mate.
Yeah.
Brushed
Have
it
a
off
good
and
day,
kept
cock.
walking. All sorts of words up there for everything, isn't there? Do you know what I mean?
North of the Watford Gab, and it all goes a bit mad.
Yeah, that's north for you, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. Mate.
Right then.
So what are you doing here, mate?
I don't know if you've been told, boys, but I'm going to be probably hosting the podcast.
Huh?
I'm going to be hosting the podcast, boys. Has
Not
Al
this
not
one.
had a meeting about this with you?
No.
I'm
Not this podcast.
What with us?
yeah, I think
Or
you can. Yeah, you can definitely come in and do it
Drink
with
it.
me.
I mean, like this podcast has got two hosts. I don't know.
Yeah,
what
no,
you-
like
Have you seen the artwork? It's
I
mine
think-
and Dan's face.
Yeah, I know. I mean, I had an in-depth meeting. me and Al had a chat about stuff, and he said, like, yeah, like the podcast, like, you've got to do one a week, and you host it with the boys. Like, you can come in.
But I mean, like, is it you on your own?
I don't think it
was.
This? I don't think it was specified. He did say, Al, in the meeting, Alfie, but like, I don't think he specified I could definitely use both of you. I think you've both got very positive attributes that would add to an already successful podcast.
Am I being
now, isn't it?
fired here?
I don't think technically you've been fired. I think,
Demoted?
No, I don't think demoted's the right word, is it? I think you've actually maybe been...
No, real talk. You take my place.
I think you've been freed up to actually like explore more sort of wider reaching, expansive roles.
I'm pretty sure he's saying you're fired, but I can't tell if he's going to wind up or not.
I don't think you've been fired. That's definitely not. You're definitely not fired.
But I'm not doing the podcast anymore.
Well, I think you can. I think you'll still have an input in the podcast. I think technically he said
I won't be the host.
I mean, I think co-host would definitely be possible.
But a co-host now, Alf's a host. I like co-host now. Am I gone?
No, I think you can still have the same guys. It'd just be slightly different. Instead of me on this sofa, I'll be on one of those sofas with one or two.
Where would I sit?
I mean, that chair I would see as interchangeable. There, you could maybe take it in turns. Maybe you could have an overall sort of leadership role of the podcast, Dan.
If
he didn't stick all this foam on the wall for nothing, Hassan.
No, I'm done, mate.
I mean,
if I'm getting sacked off, I'm done. It's either all or nothing, mate.
Well,
you choose.
As I said, mate, this is really awkward now because, like, I've had the meeting with Al. I've signed a contract with responsibilities for the podcast, and he has mentioned Alf, but I don't necessarily have a direct mention of how I can work it between the two of you. But that doesn't mean to say, mate, Alf does 1 week, you do the next week, whatever it may be.
This is my goodbye.
No, mate, it's never goodbye. We're a family now. It's my first day.
It's his first
Don't walk
day.
off. Don't leave me with the rest of the pod. He's actually gone, hasn't he? He's not happy.
That's atrocious,
He's not happy, is he? Genuinely. He's just sworn as well. Alf, what's he done there, mate?
I have no
I
idea,
don't know
mate.
him well enough as a bloke. We did like a night on Chigborough, but I don't really know how to stitch that together, mate. You're gonna have to help me out.
He's just mug him off, mate.
Just leave him.
If he's playing Crybaby, I would have thought he would have come back in by now. But
technically, he's my boss. No, he's definitely my line manager.
No, you can't call it that.
Maybe could.
Look at him. He looks like he's been living out of bins for the past.
You can keep digging him out now. Get your shots in. He's gone, mate. He's fair game now. You can just stomp that in further.
See,
mate.
I didn't know how this was actually going to play out there, but I suppose we just carry on talking.
I didn't know that was going to play out, mate, but he's fully lost his head. So I'm a little bit concerned that my first day at Nash, I've sort of waffled on far too long on a podcast and also alienated potentially a very good work colleague. He films and takes good pictures.
Yeah, well, I don't know if he will have you anymore, though,
That's
mate.
what I mean.
yeah,
that's damage. Who else? Ollie. Ollie will do it, won't he?
Ollie will do it.
Yeah. Big love, Ollie. Love you. He's gone, mate. Your head's gone.
Yeah.
Hasn't
no,
it?
I'm trying to sit it. So
there's a little backstory, ladies and gentlemen. While Alfie finds his head, Alfie the other day was in Angling Direct Rayleigh when we were getting pike here to go to Chigborough.
Yeah, we'll talk about it because this was
that was a head loss.
This
mate.
was head loss. Basically, so far I haven't left home without my face mask, and obviously Dan was driving, so we makes sense. We'll take one van, and I always have my face mask on my dashboard and my face mask, and I've just got there and I'm like, oh. Like, no face mask. And you know when you see people walk around the shops either without a face mask or with some apparatus that they've decided to make into their face mask, and I look at them people and I go, you prick, you dickhead, like you look like a right
and that was
idiot.
you, mate, wasn't
and
it?
then this time, so I'm walking around Angling Direct with Mr. Face of Angling Direct, or former face of Angling Direct, Hassan, Dan, and then there's me just with a Nash hoodie wrapped around my face, losing the plot because I don't know what I've got to do for pike fishing. If we might have mentioned
some sound advice, but quote unquote, the worst day of my life.
The worst day of my life.
That's what you said.
I have a tendency to exaggerate.
I'll take that.
But yeah, that was just another story.
Nice.
But yeah, I don't know where I've lost my head more, like in the past 5 minutes or in the...
Yeah, it's good though. I like seeing you sort of on the edge, mate. This is good. I've seen you two very controlled and harmonious here, and I've sort of wrecked it, which is not great for me as a starting point. But I'll do something to recoup it. I went past the services with Krispy Kreme donuts, mate. I'll buy him a tray or something. He'll be all right, won't he?
A little bit of poison in it slowly.
I won't. I don't actually want to kill him. Dan. I really like you, Dan. I'm sure that we can work together harmoniously one day. I'll get him on the podcast again. He can't give up, can he?
For sure. I don't know how we're going to play it, but in all seriousness now, though, I think we should maybe address the situation. Dan's gone, literally, as you can see. He's no longer here. The news...
I'm in, mate. That's going to be my seat.
Hassan's in. Hassan's in the podcast.
On that window ledge, I'm going to put some hair care products so that I'm sorted every time I come in the studio. I'm going to make that chair my own, mate.
Well, this is it now, because your role, this is your boudoir. Is that the correct word?
Oh, that is dodgy, mate. Just a bunch of different men coming into my boudoir every week.
Yeah.
Come on, Alf.
Hey, there's female anglers out there.
Yeah, very true. That also married with kids, dodgy. Good from you. No, it is officially. The podcast is mine. So I know you guys have said it because I've listened to the podcast. But the aim is, COVID and everything else willing, one podcast a week.
Yeah, I've put it out straight in there at the deep end, Because initially, when we first started this podcast, when it was just me and Dan with a couple of handheld mics sat in Kev's desk and don't know what we're doing, well, I think we said one a week. We thought, it's all right. And then it became quite evident that to do this properly, you need A, a lot of time, and B, someone to organise.
Yeah, it's a full-time job, mate.
Yeah, and that is why it sort of fell off the cliff a bit, because me and Dan's media manager, social media manager. It does get busy. Dan obviously has a lot more people under his team at the moment with videographers and more people coming in. And I'm sure you will know by now, we've got new members of staff. So he's a busy guy.
Yeah, totally.
So, we weren't able to get as many out. But the saving grace, Hassan Khan.
I don't know about that, mate. They've not heard him yet. So we'll wait for the report on that. But no, mate, I'm looking forward to it. We will get you boys involved as well, mate. You're going to co-host with me, aren't you?
Yeah, of course, yeah. So I've got a little bit more time than Dan. So I'm going to be in as many as I can, Hassan. As long as you're happy. Yeah.
Mate, of course I'm happy. Dan, no, I'm joking. Come on him as well, mate, but I know he's busy. Bless him, and he don't necessarily like always being on camera, does he, Danny boy?
Yeah, because he's always been the cameraman, and he's always said he sort of took a shine to the podcast and that. But
he's a top boy. I'll patch it up to him, mate. Don't know what I'm going to have to do, but
you can get him on as a guest one day. Well, then again, he never catches anything. His stories may be a bit boring.
He does fish some pretty interesting venues when it comes to bites, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Not a lot of time.
Underground and cool.
He is cool though, isn't he?
Yeah, well, he likes to think he is, but look at his get up. Anyway.
Subsurface hat, mate, today.
But yeah, so that's going to be the new setup, guys. The listeners,
Breaking
Hassan
news.
is the new podcast.
Please keep listening.
Organizer,
I know it's a bit
manager,
different.
whatever you want to call it.
Yeah, general podcast.
And so we now have, this studio wasn't for nothing. We're doing pressure, mate.
I like this. The Nodcast could be the next.
Yeah.
The next title, mate. I like that. This is good, mate. I'm looking forward to getting a few people in and maybe grilling a few people that need a bit of grilling. We'll see. You'll see what the future holds, but definitely stay tuned. Whether you download it or whether you watch it on YouTube. I will patch up my day one shocker of a relationship now with Dan, and me and Alfie will continue.
Absolutely, no, but it's brilliant to have you on board, mate. So yeah, slight change in the
forward
podcast. No more Dan, but the future's looking bright.
Big love, everybody. Thank you for listening.